I was being kicked out by my master. Chang'an, it's time for you to go. Leave. I looked at the woman standing before me. She wore a long purple dress that flowed like royalty. She was stunningly beautiful, with an air of cold elegance that most people wouldn't dare to breathe near. I looked at her with wide, confused eyes. Master, why? I want to stay by your side forever. I can't bear to leave you. I sounded heartbroken. My master's beautiful face twitched. For a second, she looked moved, but it wasn't out of affection. She was vibrating with the sheer effort of suppressing 10,000 years of pure annoyance. 10,000 years, she said, her voice like ice. Do you have any idea how I've lived through these 10,000 years? I gave her a bright, sunny smile. Of course I do. You had my company. You weren't lonely for a single second. You must have been so happy, surrounded by bliss every single day. Happy? Blissful? Mu Yunyao stared at me. I could tell she wanted to slap me across the mountain. Bah! 10,000 years ago, Mu Yunyao found me when I was just a 6-year-old kid. She thought I had a unique, once-in-a-lifetime constitution and decided to take me as her disciple. It was the beginning of her nightmare. I was smart. I learned everything she taught me on the first try. But as time passed, she realized something terrifying. No matter how much I practiced, I couldn't break through. I couldn't even reach the basic entry level of cultivation. She gave me her life's knowledge. I memorized it all, but I couldn't use a drop of it. She spent millennia hunting down the rarest herbs and treasures in the world for me. Nothing worked. Eventually, she gave up. She figured she'd just let me live out a normal human life by her side. But then she discovered the catch. I don't age, and I don't die. If I had been a quiet, obedient kid, it might have been fine. But I was restless. I was trouble. For 10,000 years, I made her life a living hell. Now, she finally reached her breaking point. Master, are you serious about this? I asked, seeing the grim determination on her face. My heart sank a little. We had been together since I was 6. I never imagined a life without her. Go, she said. Her voice softened just a tiny bit as she saw my slumped shoulders, but her resolve stayed firm. You've been here long enough. It's time. Master, I've been with you for 10,000 years. I have no family, no friends, no one to rely on. The world is huge, but I have nowhere to go, I said, putting as much emotion into my voice as possible. Mu Yunyao didn't buy the drama. She waved her hand, and a glowing map appeared in the air. She pointed to a specific spot. I looked into it. Even after 10,000 years, your Qin family bloodline still exists. Go find your descendants. I stared at the map. She had really planned this out. She was dead set on getting rid of me. The master's command cannot be disobeyed, I sighed dramatically. If you insist, I will go, even if it breaks my heart. I just hope you can find a way to be happy without me. Mu Yunyao let out a long, weary sigh. She had spent 10,000 years with me. She wasn't made of stone. Go. You've been sheltered here since you were a child. Remember, the world is dangerous. People are wicked. Do not trust others easily. As soon as the words left her mouth, she looked like she regretted them. She knew I had more tricks up my sleeve than anyone. Master, I said, looking at her with total sincerity. She frowned. Why are you still here? I know you're sad, but every story has an ending. Go. I didn't move. Is there something else? She asked. Master, we've been together for 10,000 years. Think of our bond. I am thinking of it. I'm leaving today, and who knows when we'll see each other again. What is your point, Chang'an? Her patience was visibly evaporating. I can't exactly leave empty-handed, can I? Shouldn't you? Give me a little something? Mu Yunyao was usually a woman of absolute calm, but I had a special talent for making her want to strangle me. The worst part? She couldn't. Even with her godlike power, she couldn't hurt a single hair on my head, despite me having zero cultivation. You've eaten my food, drank my wine, and used my resources for 10,000 years, and now you want to rob me on the way out? You really are a wonderful disciple. Thank you for the compliment, Master. But really, think about your reputation. If your disciple looks like a beggar, it reflects badly on you. Plus, I'm visiting my family after 10,000 years. I can't show up with empty pockets. I'm broke. Mu Yunyao scoffed. I wasn't broke. I used to sneak out for months at a time and definitely had a stash of loot. even if it wasn't as impressive as hers. But she just wanted me gone. She tossed a ring at me. This is a spatial ring. It's filled with treasures I've collected over the last 1,000 years. None of it is trash. It's enough for you to show off. Thank you, master. I tucked the ring away with a grin. Then, I stayed exactly where I was. Now what? She looked like she was about to explode. Master, you know I have no cultivation. The world is a scary place. My safety. Scary? Is there anything in this world scarier than you? Have you forgotten? Even I can't kill you. No one can hurt you. But master, it's about face. I might not die, but if I get beaten up because I can't fight back, won't you feel embarrassed? Your legendary disciple, losing a fight? It would ruin your name. She glared at me. What do you want? I want a bodyguard. A bodyguard? You want me to be your bodyguard? Oh, I wouldn't dare dream of that. I want the Kirin. Mu Yunyao blinked. The guy in the Forbidden Forest? You two really are two peas in a pod, aren't you? Fine. If he's willing to go with you, take him. She didn't mind. If the Kirin went with me, at least she wouldn't have to worry about me being bullied. Then, I'm really leaving now, master. Good. Master, you have to be happy while I'm gone. Promise me. I heard you. Promise me you'll be happy. I will. Master, stay happy. Get out. Got it, I chirped. I turned around and walked away, humming a happy tune with a spring in my step. I was already picturing the outside world, imagining how I'd spend my time enjoying every pleasure the land had to offer. I couldn't help it. I was beaming. Mu Yunyao saw my expression and her face turned cold. She looked offended. I could practically read her mind. What is this brat thinking? Is he really that happy to leave me? Even if she was the one kicking me out, she clearly expected me to be at least a little bit sad about it. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine, and I froze. After 10,000 years together, I knew that killing intent all too well. It was just like a woman. She was the one who told me to go, yet she was the one getting angry because I actually went. I didn't dare say that out loud, though. I kept my mouth shut, wiped the grin off my face, and walked away with a steady, respectful pace until I was finally out of her sight. My destination wasn't far, and it took me about the time it takes to burn a stick of incense to reach the edge of the Forbidden Forest. The name said it all. Normal people didn't dare come near this place, let alone enter it. The weakest monsters here were level 5, equivalent to a human in the supernatural realm. I didn't have any cultivation of my own, but I knew the levels of this world by heart. Spirit accumulation, origin condensation, true chi, transcendent, supernatural, God transformation, void cave, supreme, immortal, and finally, great emperor. My master was one of the few peak great emperors in existence. For others, the Forbidden Forest was a death trap. For me, it was like walking into my own backyard. I strolled through the trees, relaxed and carefree. Not a single beast showed its face. It was like they didn't even exist. Deep in the thicket, a young spirit beast watched me with confusion. Mom, why are we hiding? It whispered. That boy looks harmless. Harmless? Its mother hissed back, her eyes wide with terror. He's a disaster. Look at his face and remember it. If he ever shows up here again, you run. You hide. Do you understand? But why? For others, this forest is forbidden because of us, she replied. But for us, it's forbidden because of him. Don't ask questions. Just remember my words. I sighed as I walked, seeing absolutely no signs of life. I felt a bit lonely. Was I really so great that everyone felt inferior just being near me? I wasn't that picky. They didn't need to be so shy. At least I still had Big Yellow. I reached the heart of the forest. A massive Kirin was sprawled out on the ground, lazily napping. Its eyelids flickered when it sensed my aura, but it didn't bother opening them. I walked right up to it and sat down, leaning my back against its warm, scaly side. Big Yellow, I whispered. The Kirin's breathing grew heavy. It clearly hated that name. Since it was still pretending to be asleep, I decided to take a trip down memory lane. We've known each other for nearly 10,000 years, I said with a smile. Maybe I've just lived too long, but I've been thinking about the past lately. Remember the first time we met? I looked at you with passion, and you looked at me with passion. I said hello, and you were so happy you swallowed me whole in one bite. I patted its side. Technically, we're life and death friends. Family, even. What the hell do you actually want? The Kirin finally snapped, unable to take it anymore. That first meeting wasn't exactly a proud memory for him. He had eaten me, only to find out I wouldn't die. I stayed in his stomach for days, talking his ear off until he was driven mad. Then, my master found out and beat him within an inch of his life. It was humiliating. I'm leaving, I said. The Kirin went still for a second. Then he closed his eyes again. Sneaking out to play again? Your master isn't in seclusion. I can feel her aura. This time is different, I said. I'm going somewhere far away. I might be gone for a very long time. The Kirin let out a bored huff. Then that has nothing to do with me. Have a nice trip. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That's cold, I teased. Usually you're happy when I sneak out. What's wrong? Are you stupid? The Kirin grumbled. Before, your master was in seclusion and you didn't go far. Don't you remember the rules she set for us? You can't die, but I value my life. He was the king of the forbidden forest, but in front of Mu Yunyao, he was nothing but a house pet. He didn't dare break her rules. Relax, I said, leaning in. Master agreed to it. She said I'll be gone for a long time, and I need a strong protector by my side. She specifically named you, Big Yellow. In her heart, you're a true powerhouse. The Kirin's entire body jolted. A powerhouse? She really said that about me? He stood up abruptly, his massive frame sending me flying backward. She has good taste. Where are we going? Let's leave right now. What's the rush? I asked, dusting myself off. I'm worried she'll change her mind. Move it. She won't. I sighed, playing up the sadness. She's the one who kicked me out. She's tired of me. The Kirin blinked, surprised. You? The apple of her eye? She actually kicked you out. I used to be a treasure. Now I'm just grass, I muttered. Let's not talk about it. It's too painful. The Kirin didn't care about the details. As long as he got to go out and play, he was happy. Fine. But the old rules apply. The old rules. I frowned. I'm not turning into a dog this time, the Kirin barked. Whenever we used to sneak out, he had to transform into a big yellow dog to stay low profile. He was sick of it. I'm a Kirin. I have dignity. People call me doggy the whole time we're out. It's embarrassing. It's just a temporary measure to make things easier, I argued. Don't lie to me, Chin-chongin. I've seen the world. People ride horses, they ride donkeys, they even ride magical beasts. But you? You're the only one who rides a damn dog. I won't do it. If anyone is being a dog, it's you. I'll ride you. Hey, we're brothers, I said, putting an arm around his neck. Let's not fight. We'll start walking and talk about it on the way, okay? We can talk about anything except me being a dog. Fine, fine. Not a dog. In the North Plains prefecture of the Great Zhou Kingdom, there was a city called Yingwei. Inside that city lived the Qin family. Master Chun, the Liu family coming here today is giving you a huge amount of face, a man sneered. I suggest you behave yourselves. Do you really think you're the same Qin family from the old days? The words cut deep. Every member of the Chun family present looked furious. It was a classic case of the fallen tiger being bullied by dogs. The Qins weren't originally from the Great Zhou Kingdom. They had migrated here long ago and were once the undisputed #1 family in the entire nation. Back then, the Liu family was nothing more than their servants. The Lius had risen to power only because the Qins helped them. To show their loyalty, the Lius had even made a law. Every daughter of the Liu family head had to marry into the Qin family. It was meant to be a permanent bond of service. But times had changed. The Qin family had declined over the last century, shrinking until they were forced to hide away in this small city. Now, the servants had come to spit on their masters. Back when my family, the Qins, were the undisputed #1 clan in the North Plains, the Liu family practically begged to stay in our good graces. But the moment they became one of the 3 great families of the Zhou Kingdom, they cut us off completely. I never expected them to show up at our door today. My elders had planned to welcome them warmly, but the Lius didn't come for a friendly visit. Their attitude was disgusting. Liu Chengfeng, our families haven't spoken in a century, my father, Chen Zhengyuan, said firmly. There was no need for you to travel all this way just to insult us. As for that old marriage rule your ancestors made, you could have handled that yourselves. Why come here and act so aggressive? Even though our statuses were worlds apart now, my father refused to cower. I watched Lu Qingfeng's face. He looked surprised. He clearly didn't expect a fallen family like ours to have any backbone left. To him, our pride was just a joke because we lacked the strength to back it up. Humph, Lu Qingfeng sneered. Our eldest young lady has been scouted by the Shanqing sect. Not only that, she and the fifth prince of the great Zhou royalty are deeply in love. You people. Uncle, let me speak, a young woman interrupted. This was Lu Mingyin, the daughter of the current Lu family head. According to the ancient laws her own family had written, she was technically supposed to marry into our family. But we all knew that rule was dead. The Lius had abandoned us ages ago. Her presence here felt like a bad omen. Lu Mingyin was clearly powerful within her clan. With one word, Lu Qingfeng stepped back and went silent. She looked at my father with a faint, patronizing smile. Master Chen, she began, my family received many favors from yours in the past. We didn't just stand by when the Chens first started to decline, either. I know our statuses are different now, but the Lu family values old ties. Those ancient rules are no longer appropriate. I'm here to settle this matter once and for all. What do you think? She didn't wait for an answer. She waved a hand dismissively. Don't worry, we aren't stingy. Here are 10,000 low-grade spirit stones and 5 Ningyuan pills. Consider it compensation for the Qin family. 10,000 stones. 5 pills. If this were the old days, we wouldn't have even looked at such trash. But now, we were starving for resources. I saw some of my kinsmen flinch. They were tempted. But the price of those items was our dignity, and no one spoke up. My father laughed. It was a cold, hollow sound. The Lu family is truly generous. But my Qin family has never accepted charity. We appreciate the thought, Miss Lu, but no thank you. He rejected her without a second of hesitation. I looked at Lu Mingyan. She looked polite on the surface, but her eyes were full of arrogance. She hadn't looked at a single one of us as an equal. In her mind, just showing up was a massive favor to us. She expected us to be grateful for her compensation. Her smile vanished. Her brow furrowed in annoyance. What? You won't accept? Don't tell me the Chun family is still dreaming of clinging to us? Do you actually expect me to marry into your house? Her voice was dripping with mockery. I felt my blood start to boil. Clinging to you, my father countered. Miss Lu, you think too highly of yourself. Do you really think I don't know why you're here? Very few people remember the old pact between our families, but people do know. You want to marry the fifth prince. You're just here to scrub away any stains on your reputation before you join the royal family. If it weren't for that, would you have ever stepped foot in this city? He hit the nail on the head. The old debt the Lius owed us was a blemish on her perfect record. Chen Jingyuan, I suggest you think carefully, Lu Qingfeng growled. If we weren't thinking about old times, a family with your pathetic strength couldn't withstand the combined wrath of the Lius and the fifth prince. He couldn't understand why we were being so difficult. To him, we should have just taken the money and shut up. He didn't realize that some things aren't for sale. The men of the Qin family aren't afraid to die, I said, stepping forward. What you want is that old contract your family hand-delivered to us all those years ago, Both Lu Qingfeng and Lu Mingyan snapped their heads toward me. I was holding the ancient parchment in my hand. Who are you? Lu Mingyan asked, her eyes narrowing. Chen Yinxian, son of the clan leader, I replied coldly. The young master of this generation? She scanned me up and down. You have a decent look about you, but your cultivation is lacking. You're nowhere near the level of the fifth prince. If we followed the old rules, I suppose you're the one I would have been forced to marry. I let out a sharp laugh. Miss Lu, you must be joking. When has anyone from your Lu family ever been worthy of marrying a young master of the Qin family? You're dreaming. The room went dead silent. Lu Mingyan's face turned a bruised shade of purple. Lu Qingfeng looked like he was about to explode. It was the truth, but the truth stung the most. To them, being reminded of their servant origins was the ultimate insult. Humph. It seems the Qins are only good at wagging their tongues now, Lu Mingyan said, her voice icy. Give me the document. Keep the compensation or don't, I don't care. After today, our families have no connection. We don't want your compensation, I said, stepping closer. And I'll give you the paper. But your family broke your oath. Since you're the eldest daughter, you will apologize to my family first. She liked the first part. She hated the second. Her face twisted in rage. Apologize? To you? Do you have the guts to even ask that? I think you've forgotten your place. You're asking for death. Lu Chengfeng stepped forward, a heavy, suffocating pressure erupting from his body. He was at the peak of the true Qi realm. My father had only just entered that stage, and the rest of us were far below. The air in the room felt like lead. Most of my family members buckled under the weight. Kid, remember this, Lu Chengfeng sneered, looking down at me. If you want to talk big, you need the strength to back it up. Without power, your words are just a joke. He looked at me like I was garbage, a failure who hadn't even reached the Ningyuan realm. But I didn't look away. I stared right into his eyes, fighting against the crushing pressure. To his absolute shock, I didn't fall. I forced myself to stand up straight. My spine popped, but I didn't bend. We locked eyes, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of fear in him. He saw my resolve. He saw my will. I could see the thought crossing his mind. If this kid is allowed to grow, he'll be a nightmare for us. In that moment, I knew he didn't just want the contract. He wanted me dead. Lu Qingfeng's eyes darkened. I could feel the killing intent radiating off him. He was a powerhouse at the peak of the true Qi realm, and he felt threatened by me, a teenager who had barely started his cultivation journey. He was actually considering ending me right here. My father, Chen Jingyuan, sensed the shift in the air. He stepped forward, ready to protect me, but I didn't back down. I stared straight at Lu Qingfeng, my voice cutting through the tension like a blade. One day, the hidden dragon will rise to the heavens, I said firmly. The Qin family will take back everything we've lost. Every single bit of it. Lu Chengfeng burst into laughter, a cold, mocking sound. Take it back? You? With a family of less than 100 people? That's hilarious. I think I'll just see if you can even survive the day. He raised his hand, ready to strike. But then, the sound of slow, rhythmic clapping echoed through the hall. Well said. A calm voice drifted in from the doorway. What was lost should indeed be taken back. Everyone froze. We turned toward the entrance and saw a young man standing there. He looked casual, almost bored. Next to him stood a large yellow dog with a strange, grumpy expression. The dog looked like it was judging everyone in the room. Lu Qingfeng and Lu Mingyan looked confused. My family was just as baffled. We didn't recognize him at all. Who are you? Lu Qingfeng demanded, his brow furrowed. The young man smiled faintly. Me? I'm from the Qin family. My name is Qin Chang'an. The room went silent. We all looked at each other, trying to find a face that recognized the name. Was he a long-lost cousin? A secret illegitimate son? Even my father looked hesitant, his eyes searching his memory for any clue. Lu Qingfeng scoffed. The youngsters in this family are getting bolder by the second. At least the other kid has some cultivation. You don't have a lick of power in you, yet you dare to talk big? Aren't you afraid I'll kill you? Qin Chang'an didn't even blink. Kill me? You're welcome to try. Arrogant brat. Lu Qingfeng didn't move his hands this time. Instead, he released his full spiritual pressure. The weight was enough to crush a normal person's bones, let alone an ordinary man without cultivation. But Qin Chang'an just stood there. He looked bored. He had spent years following his master, Mu Yunyao, a peak-level powerhouse. Compared to her, Lu Qingfeng's pressure felt like a light breeze. Big Yellow, Qin Chang'an said, ignoring the man entirely. The yellow dog gave an annoyed huff, but walked over to a nearby chair. It grabbed the wood in its teeth, dragged it over, and set it down. Qin Chang'an sat down comfortably, crossing his legs as if he were watching a play. The room gasped. It was one thing for the man to be unaffected, but even his dog was moving freely under that crushing pressure. Who are you? Lu Qingfeng stammered. His confidence was crumbling. He couldn't sense a single drop of qi from this man, yet he was completely unfazed. Suddenly, my father bolted upright. His eyes were wide, trembling with a mix of shock and realization. Are you truly Qin Chang'an? The Chang for longevity, the Yin for peace. His voice shook. He didn't just use the man's name. He used a respectful title. It seems someone in the family still remembers my name, Qin Chang'an said with a small smile. That saves me a lot of talking. My father's entire body shuddered. Under the shocked gazes of everyone present, the head of our family walked over and dropped to his knees. Chen Jingyuan, 135th generation head of the Qin family, greets the ancestor. Ancestor? This young man was our ancestor? "What are you all doing?" My father barked at the rest of us. "Kneel. Pay your respects to the ancestor." We were dazed, but we didn't dare disobey. One by one, the elders and the youth of the Chun family hit the floor. Lu Mingyan and Lu Chengfeng stood frozen, their faces pale. If the Chun family had an ancestor this powerful, why were they struggling? Was this a trick? Lu Chengfeng leaned in and whispered to her, his voice trembling. "Miss, I've heard rumors. They say a Chun ancestor was taken away by a supreme master ages ago. Everyone thought it was a lie, or that he had died long ago. But if he's back, how long has it been?" Lu Mingyan whispered back. "The rumors go back hundreds of years," Lu Qingfeng replied. He looked at Qin Chang'an, who looked barely 20. If he had lived for centuries, his power would be at the level of the great Zhou Empire's strongest legends. "Hundreds of years," my father interrupted, his voice full of pride. "Our ancestor left this family 10,000 years ago." 10,000 years. The words hit the room like a thunderclap. The great Zhou Empire hadn't even existed for 1,000 years. This man wasn't just a master. He was an ancient monster from a forgotten era. "Rise," Qin Chang'an said, his voice tinged with a bit of sadness. I didn't expect the family to fall this far. The Chun family members bowed their heads in shame. Qin Chang'an then turned his gaze toward our visitors. They looked like they wanted to bolt for the door. "Don't worry," he said with a smirk. "I'm not going to kill you. But you aren't taking that contract today. Go back. Tell your family that the Chun family will visit you personally soon to deliver it. Now get out." Despite having no visible cultivation, his presence was overwhelming. Lu Mingyan and Lu Qingfeng didn't wait for a second invitation. They bowed deeply and scrambled out of the hall as fast as their legs could carry them. Once they were gone, Qin Chang'an looked at me. A spark of approval shined in his eyes. "You did well just now, kid. You've got guts." I looked at Chun Yinxian, my expression unreadable. "Weren't you afraid?" I asked him. Standing your ground when you have no strength is a good way to get killed. The kid didn't flinch. In fact, he looked thrilled that I was even speaking to him. He told me he had placed a bet. He figured the Lu family was too obsessed with their reputation to wipe out the Chans. If they killed us now, the world would call them traitors who kicked a family while they were down. He was willing to risk his life on that logic. I nodded, genuinely impressed. He wasn't just acting on impulse. He was thinking 3 steps ahead. "As long as I am here," I told the room, my voice heavy with authority, "no one will insult the Qin family. And you, kid, you won't die?" I felt Big Yellow's eyes on me from the corner of the room. The dog was radiating pure disdain. I knew exactly what he was thinking. He thought I was a fraud. He thought I was just posing and that he'd be the one doing all the heavy lifting if a real fight broke out. I ignored him. I had a role to play. Chun Jingyuan was shaking with excitement, convinced I was going to lead them to glory. I had to temper his expectations immediately. "It won't be me," I said. "It wouldn't be right for someone of my status to bully these juniors. You have to do it yourselves." The truth was a bit more embarrassing. I couldn't actually fight. I was just the world's most durable punching bag. I could take a hit from a god and keep walking, but I couldn't throw a punch worth a damn. Still, I promised them that with me around, their strength would skyrocket. Once the rest of the family cleared out, I pulled Chun Jingyuan aside. I wanted to know how they had ended up in this tiny Great Zhou Empire. 1,000,000 kilometers was a long way to fall. He sighed, explaining that after I left 10,000 years ago, the family had slowly withered away. They moved here to hide and recover, but things only got worse. It was a pathetic story. I decided it was time to change their luck. I tossed him a storage ring I had prepared. Jingyuan peered inside and nearly fell over. His voice started trembling. "These spirit stones, what grade are they?" he asked. I told him they were high grade, with a few top-tier ones mixed in. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. There were over 100,000 of them. In a place like this, people treated mid-grade stones like legendary treasures. I had also packed the ring with high-level cultivation techniques and rare herbs they probably didn't even have names for. With these resources, the Qin family wouldn't just recover, they would dominate. I looked at Qin Yinxian. He had talent. I asked him if he wanted to train with me personally. The kid almost tripped over himself saying yes. I told him to come find me the next morning and sent them away. Qin Jingyuan led me to a private courtyard. It wasn't a palace, but it was a hell of a lot better than the wooden shack my master, Mu Yunyao, had forced me to live in for 10,000 years. She wasn't mean. She just didn't care about comfort. This place felt like luxury. Before Jinyuan left, he pulled out one more thing. It was a jade box from the family's secret vault. He said the ancestors had left a strict command. If I ever returned, this had to be given to me. I opened the box and saw a crystal-clear bead. The moment my eyes landed on it, my heart skipped a beat. For 10,000 years, my body had been a stagnant pond. Now, for the first time, I felt a powerful, pulsing connection. What is this? I asked, my brow furrowing. Jinyuan called it a fetal bead. He told me it was born alongside me, like a twin made of stone. Apparently, there were 9 of them originally. My parents were going to give them to me when I grew up, but then I was taken away by that powerful cultivator. Over the centuries, the family had lost 8 of them. My blood ran cold. I had 8 brothers scattered across the world. I asked if he knew where any of them were. He only knew about one. It was in the hands of the great Zhou royal family. They had stolen it from the Chens years ago. They probably didn't even know what it was, since the beads didn't seem to help with normal cultivation. I gripped the bead tight. I could feel it. This was the key to everything. I dismissed Jinyuan and told him to bring a massive feast for Big Yellow. The dog wagged his tail, finally satisfied. I stared at the bead in my hand. After 10,000 years of waiting, I finally had a path forward. I felt a strange, magnetic pull coming from the stone. I needed to be alone to figure this out. I told the others I was heading back to my room to study it, and Big Yellow just nodded. He knew me well enough to see the look on my face. I didn't usually get this serious. Once I was behind closed doors, I held the fetal bead in my palm. I stared at it, wondering what kind of connection we shared. Suddenly, the bead erupted into a blinding white light. Before I could even blink, it shot forward and vanished right into my forehead. The speed was insane. My first thought was pure panic. Was my brother trying to possess me? But then, a wave of pure energy began to circulate through my limbs. It felt incredible. I almost let out a moan of relief, but I bit my lip and held it back. Then I felt it. For the first time in 10,000 years, my body sensed the spiritual energy in the air. I could actually absorb it. The energy from the beads settled at a spot between my eyebrows and then faded, leaving my meridians wide open. I was stunned. All those years, Mu Yunyao had fed me countless legendary herbs and treasures, and none of them had done a thing. It turned out the problem wasn't me, it was these beads. Had my parents left my entire cultivation talent inside these 9 stones? My master was right. I really was a freak of nature. I couldn't help but laugh at myself. But the excitement was real. I had spent 10,000 years pretending I didn't care about being powerless, but deep down, it stung. Now, the door was finally open. I had every technique Mu Yunyao ever knew memorized. I just had to pick one. I looked through my mental library. An Earth-grade technique? The Supreme Overlord body? No, my physique was already indestructible. I didn't need more muscle. What about the 9-cycle heaven rotation? It was powerful, but it required restarting your cultivation 9 times. Too much work. I wanted something that looked good. Something with style. I guess I'll go with the sword, I whispered. Since everyone says I'm such a sharp guy anyway. I chose the peerless sword realm technique. It wasn't easy. It required insane talent and even higher comprehension. If you weren't a genius, you'd never understand its secrets. I took a deep breath. My heart was racing like a kid on his first day of training. I started the mantra. The moment I began to circulate the technique, the spiritual energy in the surrounding area didn't just move. It surged toward me like a tidal wave. Outside, Big Yellow's ears perked up. He dropped his bone, his eyes wide with shock. He could feel the atmosphere shifting. He knew I was a menace even without a cultivation base. If I actually started gaining power, the world was in trouble. As I continued to pull in energy, the entire city of Yingwei fell into a panic. Cultivators everywhere stopped what they were doing. The spiritual energy in the air was simply gone. It was being sucked toward the Chun family estate like a massive vacuum. The other 2 major families, the Su and the Ning, were terrified. They wondered if the Chun family head had reached some legendary peak. Meanwhile, the Chun descendants were ecstatic. They knew exactly where that energy was going. They stood outside my quarters, whispering in awe about how powerful their ancestor truly was. They debated if I was a spirit-severing expert or something even higher. To them, I was a god returning to his throne. But the scale of what I was doing was much bigger than one city. Big Yellow watched the sky, his jaw dropping. I had already drained the energy from hundreds of miles around me, and I wasn't stopping. He stopped eating entirely. The meat didn't even taste good anymore. Is this kid trying to break straight into the supernatural realm in one sitting? He muttered. By the time I was done with my first session, I had drained the spiritual energy of the entire Northern Plains prefecture. I had caused a literal natural disaster without even trying. In the provincial capital, the head of the powerful Nan family rushed to see the governor, Wu Chengfeng. Both men were pale. They had no idea which great power had arrived in their lands to cause such a phenomenon. They were terrified of accidentally offending whoever it was. They immediately agreed to launch a joint investigation, hoping to recruit this genius before anyone else did. Far away, on the road out of the province, Lu Mingyin and her uncle Lu Chengfeng felt the air go cold and empty. "Uncle," Lu Mingyin whispered, her voice trembling. "How powerful is that Chun ancestor?" Lu Chengfeng looked back toward the city, his face full of dread. He realized that in the short time since they had fled, I had stripped the entire province of its energy. "He is unfathomable," he replied. "His power is beyond anything we can measure." I couldn't understand it. Why would he do this? Draining the spiritual energy of the entire Northern Plains prefecture didn't seem to benefit the Chun family at all. With the energy gone, it would take a long time for the region to recover. "Is it a warning?" Lu Mingyin asked, her voice trembling. "In my opinion, that's exactly what it is," Lu Chengfeng replied. "A warning to us, and a warning to the entire province. When something this big happens, people will investigate. Soon, everyone will know the Qin ancestor has returned. The news will spread across the entire great Zhou Empire. The Qin family isn't just rising, they're making a statement. Soon, they'll be the top family in the country again. Or maybe what? Maybe the Qin family doesn't even care about the great Zhou Empire anymore." Lu Qingfeng's analysis hit home. It made sense. Why else would a man like me cause such a massive scene? Lu Mingyin sighed. She wished her family had an ancestor like me. "Uncle," she whispered, "is there any way to fix this? Can our family still find a way to cling to the Chun family's shadow?" Lu Qingfeng's eyes lit up. He hadn't even thought of that. "We need to get back to the family immediately. We have to tell the patriarch. We can't let anyone else get ahead of us. Move. Faster." They vanished into the distance, pushing themselves to their limits to reach home. Back at the Chun estate in Yingui City, I let out a long breath. "Refreshing," I muttered. So this was what cultivation felt like. It hadn't been long, but I finally understood why everyone was obsessed with it. Having energy flowing through your veins, having actual power, was a completely different feeling. I wanted to keep going, but I hit a wall. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't absorb another drop of energy. My body had reached its limit. I pushed open the door and stepped outside. The world looked sharper, clearer. "Big Yellow," I shouted, a smug grin on my face. "Check it out. Am I a genius or what? In just this short time, I've already broken through to the first level of the Spirit Sea realm. Pretty impressive, right?" Big Yellow looked up from his spot, his eyes narrowing. "Well, you've had 10,000 years of accumulation, so breaking through isn't." "Wait, did you say the first level of the Spirit Sea realm?" He stood up and sniffed around me, his brow furrowed. "That's impossible. You just drained an entire province. Where did all that energy go? Are you suppressing your cultivation?" "No," I said, shaking my head. "That massive amount of energy only got me to the first level. And now, my body is acting up again. I tried using spirit stones, but I can't absorb anything." "Strange," Big Yellow muttered. "Truly strange. Is there anything normal about you? Here, attack me. Let's see what your actual combat power looks like." "You better not hit back," I warned. "Just do it. Your master couldn't kill you, you think I can?" I didn't waste any more words. I pointed my finger like a sword and unleashed a strike. A blast of sword chi shot toward Big Yellow. It was fast, blindingly fast, and packed with a terrifying amount of weight. It didn't hurt him, of course, but it made his eyes go wide. "You freak," Big Yellow whispered. "You're only at the first level of the Spirit Sea. But that strike had the power of someone in the supernatural realm. Do you realize what that means? Your combat strength is 2 entire realms above your cultivation level. If you ever become a great emperor, no one under the heavens could touch you. Not even your master. My eyes lit up. If my master couldn't beat me, I could make him do whatever I wanted. Wipe that look off your face, Big Yellow snapped. I know what you're thinking. Aren't you afraid he'll just lock you up so you can't cultivate anymore? I sighed. True. And it looks like I can't level up anymore for now anyway. It's those fetal beads, Big Yellow said. I'd bet on it. If you find the other 8, your path to power will probably open up. You really are something else. You managed to kick out your own cultivation talent while you were still in the womb. I've lived a long time, and I've never seen anyone as weird as you. I ignored his teasing. My mind was on those beads. One was with the great Zhou royals. I thought about my master, who had spent thousands of years searching for a way to help me. Poor old guy. I laughed. He spent all that time searching, and he never thought to just ask the Qin family. He really worked himself to the bone for nothing. Old guy. Big Yellow smirked. You know he hates it when people call him old. So what? He's not here. Suddenly, a cold shiver ran down my spine. It was a familiar, terrifying sensation that made my heart skip a beat. Oh crap, I whispered. Is he following me? I looked around frantically. Big Yellow. Is my master here? Big Yellow gave me a look of pure disdain. Where'd all that confidence go? He's not here physically. But with his power, it's not hard for him to check in on you once in a while. I'd watch my mouth if I were you. I nodded quickly, my skin crawling. I couldn't die, but my master had 1,000 ways to make me wish I could. Fine, I'm done talking about him, I said, looking toward the gate. The kid is here. Why am I training him, you ask? We share the same bloodline. I won't be staying here forever. That would be too boring. This generation needs someone who can carry the weight of the family name. He's the best fit. I figured, Big Yellow yawned. You're not the type to sit still. I'm going to take a nap. As the dog trotted off, I waved my hand toward the door. Come in. Chun Yinxian walked in, looking like he'd seen a ghost. He had clearly heard Big Yellow talking. Even high-level spirit beasts rarely spoke human tongue, let alone a common-looking dog. Ancestor, he stammered. Were you talking to him? You mean Big Yellow? Yeah, don't look down on him. He's not just some dog. Then what is he? Yinxian asked, wide-eyed. He's the king of dogs, I said solemnly. Yinchuan's lip twitched. The king of dogs? He didn't look convinced, but he didn't dare argue. Big Yellow, hearing us, just rolled his eyes and went back to sleep. Let's get to business, I said, my voice turning serious. Among the younger generation, your talent is the best. From today on, you'll stay by my side. Based on how you handled yourself yesterday, I've decided to teach you an Earth Grade technique, the Supreme Overlord Body. Earth Grade. Yinchuan's eyes lit up. It wasn't Heaven Grade, but in this region, Earth Grade was legendary. But as I began to transmit the mnemonic to him, his expression shifted from excitement to pure shock. He realized very quickly that this Earth Grade technique was unlike anything he had ever heard of. Ancestor, he gasped. Is this really an Earth Grade technique? Yeah, I replied. Is there a problem? It's just the complexity, the profoundness. Even Heaven Grade techniques shouldn't be this powerful. I looked at Chen Yinchuan's shocked face and gave a small nod. Is there a problem? It's just the complexity, the profoundness. Even Heaven Grade techniques shouldn't be this powerful. He stammered, his voice trembling with disbelief. I couldn't help but smile. Maybe it's not Earth Grade in the way the people of this world understand it. Think bigger. Think of the vast Earth itself. Yinxian stood there, frozen like a statue. In the Great Zhou Empire, nobody even knew what a true Earth Grade technique looked like. They simply didn't have access to that level of power. Their understanding of the world was too narrow. But the Qin family was different. We had once seen glory, and our records held secrets others had forgotten. Still, seeing the real thing was clearly too much for him to process. Don't be so surprised, I said calmly. I don't keep trash in my collection. Practice hard. The Qin family's current generation needs a leader, and I've decided that leader will be you. Yinchuan's eyes turned red with emotion. He had dreamed of leading the family, but hearing it from my mouth, the ancestor, gave the idea a weight he hadn't expected. It meant I truly believed in him. With you here, ancestor, I wouldn't dare to be arrogant, he said nervously. My strength is too great, and my seniority is too high. I replied, keeping my voice steady despite my internal limitations. It's not appropriate for me to personally handle every little fly that buzzes around us. That's your job. Then Yunxian will work his hardest. I won't let you down. He dove into his training with a new fire in his eyes. He wasn't the only one. Spurred on by the resources I provided, the entire Qin family entered a cultivation frenzy. A month passed in the blink of an eye. During that time, the family's strength didn't just grow, it exploded. But while we were busy getting stronger, the world outside was starting to boil over. In Yingui City, there were 3 major cultivation families. The Su and Ning families were the local powerhouses, while the Qin family was seen as an outsider. We were the weakest link, usually suppressed by the other 2 through their marriage alliances. Who do the Qins think they are? Master Su slammed his fist onto a table. The number 1 family in the city? They've kept their gates locked for a month. They won't even see our messengers. Master Ning frowned, his eyes narrowing. Something happened a month ago. I heard there was some strange phenomenon at their estate. Do you think a gifted child was born? Impossible, Su snapped. I keep tabs on them. There haven't been any pregnant women in that house for 2 years. If it wasn't a birth, what caused that surge of energy? It couldn't be Chun Jingyuan breaking through. He doesn't have the talent. The 2 men locked eyes. Slowly, their confusion turned into greedy excitement. A treasure, they said in unison. Exactly, Ning shouted, standing up. They must have found a legendary treasure. That's why they've been ignoring us. Damn it, why did it take us this long to realize? They were filled with regret. A month was a long time. Was the treasure even still there? Brother Su, I think we still have a chance, Ning said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. It's likely not a pill. It's probably a weapon or a cultivation tool, something that gathers spiritual energy. That's why they've stayed hidden. They're using it to boost their power right now. Su's breathing grew heavy. If we get our hands on something like that, we wouldn't just rule this city. We could take over the entire northern region. Maybe even make a name for ourselves in the capital. But, Su hesitated, they've had a month to grow. Taking it by force might be difficult. So what? Ning sneered. How much can they really improve in 30 days? Our 2 families combined will crush them. We need to move now. Fast and quiet. While they were plotting our demise, I was watching Yunxian finish a breakthrough. Ancestor, I actually reached the 1st level of the true Qi realm. He looked at his hands, trembling. A month ago, he was at the 7th level of Qi gathering. He expected to maybe hit the 5th level of spirit origin. Instead, he had jumped an entire realm. He was now as strong as his father, the head of the family, had been just a month prior. To him, it felt like a dream. I looked at him with a calm expression. Your talent was never the problem, Yunxian. The problem was the Chun family's lack of resources and the fact that this empire is a backwater. You're 16. In the outside world, the real geniuses don't just rely on talent. They rely on foundation. They have resources you can't even imagine. The outside world, he whispered. The great Zhou is a speck of dust, I said. If you want to make something of yourself, you have to leave this place. If you had grown up in a land with rich spiritual energy, you wouldn't be at the true Qi realm right now. You'd be at the transcendent realm. Yunchuan's jaw dropped. Someone can reach the transcendent realm at 16? Go out and see for yourself. I laughed. A frog at the bottom of a well never knows how big the sky is. I could see the seed of ambition taking root in his heart. I wanted him to travel for his own growth, but I had my own reasons too. The fetal beads were scattered across the world, and I needed someone I could trust to help me find them. The world was vast, and my journey had only just begun. Finding the fetal beads on my own was going to be a massive headache. The world was too big, and I couldn't be everywhere at once. But if I had help, things would move much faster. Sending Chun Yunxian out wasn't just about his growth. I needed him to be my eyes and ears. While we were talking, Chun Jingyuan walked into the courtyard. He glanced at his son, his eyes brimming with pride. In just 1 month under my guidance, the boy's progress had been explosive. The future of the Qin family was finally looking bright. Greetings, ancestor, Jingyuan said, bowing deeply. Then his expression darkened. Ancestor, our scouts in Yingui City just brought word. The Su and Ning families are making a move. I suspect they're heading straight for us. The Su and Ning families. They were the other two major players in the city. Let them come, I said calmly. With the Chen family's current strength, they won't find what they're looking for. Tell me, how has everyone progressed this month? Jing Yuan's face lit up with excitement. Our strength has soared, thanks to the resources you provided. I've reached the 2nd level of the transcendent realm. The elders are at the peak of the 9th level of true qi, and every other clansman has reached the true qi realm. Only the juniors are still in the spirit origin realm. He was practically shaking. In 1 month, I had transformed the family. He was already dreaming of returning to their former glory, maybe even surpassing it. Since you've improved so much, I asked, what exactly are you afraid of? Jingyuan froze. He blinked, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. He was right. Why was he still worried? With their new power, the Su and Ning families were no longer a threat. When your strength grows, your mindset needs to grow with it, I said with a small smile. Do you understand? I stand corrected, ancestor, he replied, bowing again. Stop chatting. Big Yellow suddenly interjected, his voice gruff. They're already here. Jingyuan and Yunxian both turned cold. By now, the fact that Big Yellow could talk wasn't a secret to the family. They knew he wasn't just a dog. He was a king. Ancestor, let us handle this, Jingyuan said. There's no need to trouble yourself. No need, I replied, leaning back. I'll come along just to watch the show. Don't mind me. Outside, the Su and Ning families had brought their best fighters. They were convinced the Qin family was hiding a supreme treasure, and they weren't leaving without it. Master Su, Master Ning, a Qin family guard said at the gate. The Qin family isn't seeing guests today. Perhaps you should. Cut the crap, Master Ning barked. Who do you think you are? We come here personally, and you dare shut the door in our faces? As he spoke, Master Ning paused. He sensed something off. He looked at the guard, Chen Zhanyuan. Brother Su, Ning whispered. If I remember correctly, this man was only at the spirit origin realm a month ago. What does he feel like? True Qi. Master Su noticed it too. His eyes narrowed. A total breakthrough in a single month? That was impossible. Unless. The two patriarchs looked at each other, their eyes burning with greed. It had to be a treasure. A cultivation treasure so powerful it could force a breakthrough in weeks. Their desire blinded them. They didn't stop to think that if a lowly guard had improved that much, what about the rest of the family? Step aside, Master Su commanded, his voice icy. Or don't blame us for being impolite. Chen Zhanyuan didn't flinch. He stared them down, his blood boiling. These people had bullied his family for years. They still thought the Qin family was a doormat. Impolite. I'd like to see you try, Zhanyuan spat. Zhanyuan. Jingyuan's voice rang out from behind him. Let them in. The guard stepped aside immediately. At least your clan head has some sense. Master Ning sneered, walking past him with his entourage. Once they were all inside the courtyard, Jingyuan spoke with a flat, chilling tone. Zhanyuan, close the door. The guard's eyes brightened. He slammed the heavy gates shut and stood there like a statue, blocking the only exit. The two visiting masters were too focused on the loot to care about the door. Brother Chun, it's been too long, Master Su said with a fake smile. We heard there was some unusual activity here a month ago. As fellow cultivators of Yingwei City, we thought we'd offer our help. We don't need help, Jingyuan said, cutting him off. And I know you didn't bring your entire elite force here to be neighborly. Get to the point. Master Su chuckled. Fine. You found a treasure. We all know it. A treasure like that shouldn't be kept to yourself. Why not lend it to our families for a while? We could all be one big happy family. What do you say? It was a classic ultimatum. Hand it over nicely, or we take it by force. I'll give you a piece of advice, Zhenyuan said, his voice dropping an octave. Think very carefully about what you do next. The consequences might be more than you can handle. Master Ning laughed out loud. Consequences? You've grown quite a spine in a month, Qin Zhenyuan. I want to see these consequences. Are you handing over the treasure or not? The Chun family members standing around didn't look scared. They looked bored. That was the confidence of true power. Then let me show you how we handle impolite guests, Zhenyuan said. Fine. You asked for. Hey, Big Yellow, is that melon sweet? The sudden, casual question cut through the tension like a blunt knife. Everyone froze. The Su and Ning experts blinked, looking around in confusion. A fight was about to break out, and someone was asking about a melon? I was lying back in a rocking chair, ignoring the small army in my yard. I was staring intently at the fruit in Big Yellow's mouth. Big Yellow looked at me, hesitated, and then slowly shook his head, guarding the fruit. "Look at you, being so stingy," I said, rolling my eyes. "I'm not going to steal your food. Who wants to eat dog leftovers anyway?" Big Yellow gave me a look of pure disdain, completely ignoring the stunned enemies standing 10 feet away. I looked at Big Yellow and sighed. Over the last few thousand years, this dog had stolen way too much of my food. "Go Sheng," I muttered, using his old nickname. Big Yellow snapped his head toward me, his eyes burning with fury. "You're the damn Go Sheng. Your whole family is Go Sheng. We're all dogs in this family," I joked, unfazed. "Am I a normal dog?" He barked back, his pride wounded. "I'm the king of dogs." "No, wait, spit that out. I'm a Chilean of noble blood." He went back to guarding his fruit, completely ignoring me. I couldn't exactly fight him for it. Even if I was immortal, I knew for a fact I couldn't out-wrestle that stubborn beast. I turned to a nearby family member. "Go get me another one. This one isn't sweet. Don't eat it." The man nodded frantically, his face pale with respect, and sprinted off. A moment later, he returned with a fresh melon. I took a bite. The juice was cool and sugary. "Now, this is good," I said, nodding in approval. The family member looked like he'd just been blessed by a god. I looked up and realized the entire yard was silent. The Su and Ning families were staring at me like I was some kind of freak. They were geared up for a bloodbath, and I was just sitting there reviewing fruit. "What are you all staring at?" I asked, waving my hand dismissively. "Keep fighting. I'm just eating a melon. Don't mind me." The Chen family didn't blink. They knew who I was. To them, the ancestor being calm during a crisis was just a Tuesday. But the invaders were losing their minds. I looked young, too young. Yet, the way the Chen family treated me suggested I was the one calling the shots. Master Su and Master Ning whispered to each other. They knew every face in Yingui City, but they didn't recognize me. I was a ghost, a phantom who had appeared out of nowhere. Master Su stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with greed. "Kid, are you the one who brought the treasure to the Chen family? Listen, in this city, the Su and Ning families are the true powers. If you give that treasure to us instead, I promise your life will be 10,000 times better than it is here." The yard went deathly quiet. Every member of the Chen family looked at Master Su like he was the world's biggest idiot. Master Su felt the shift in the air. His confidence wavered. Did I say something wrong?" he whispered to Master Ning. "I don't think so," Ning replied, looking just as confused. I finished my slice of melon and wiped my mouth. I didn't even look at them. "Zhengyuan." Chen Jingyuan bowed instantly. "Ancestor, what are your orders?" "Just start already," I said, bored. "Stop wasting time with all this talking. If you wait any longer, Big Yellow is going to eat all the melons." Big Yellow looked up, his eyes full of disdain. "I'm only on my second one. You're on your third, you bastard." The invaders froze. Their faces turned ashen. Ancestor, Chen Jingyuan, the head of the family, had just called this teenager ancestor. It was a joke. It had to be a joke. Master Su's mind raced. A small family like the Chun clan couldn't have a living ancestor. But Jingyuan wasn't the type to play pranks. "He's hiding his cultivation," Master Su hissed, his voice trembling. "He must be." Master Ning looked like he wanted to vomit. If I was an ancient master hiding my power, they were already dead. "Master Chun," Ning said, his voice desperate. "There is still time to apologize. We can talk this out." "Sorry," Zhengyuan replied, his face hardening. "The ancestor gave an order. I have to follow it. Move out." "I'll go first," one of the elders shouted. The Chen elders didn't hesitate. They had been itching to test their new strength. They moved like lightning, their strikes ruthless and precise. In a single breath, half of the Su and Ning experts were screaming on the ground. Master Su and Master Ning watched in horror. Only a month ago, these elders were weak. Now, they were monsters. "Chun Jingming, Chun Jingxiao," Master Su stammered. "How are they this strong? Are they at the peak of the 9th level of the Qi realm?" In this region, the two family heads were the strongest, sitting at the third and fourth levels. But now, every elder in the Chun family surpassed them. There was no one in the entire Northern Plains County who could stop this. Run! Master Su yelled. They turned to flee, but it was too late. Their elite guards were already dead. They were next. Stop! A voice boomed from the entrance. The two family heads gasped, hopes surging in their chests. Had reinforcements arrived? I bit into another piece of melon. Kill them, I said quietly. Jingyuan didn't hesitate. He ignored the newcomer and lunged forward. With two swift palms, he struck Master Su and Master Ning. There were two dull thuds, and the leaders of the two greatest families in the city collapsed, dead before they hit the dirt. You, the transcendent realm? The newcomer gasped. The man standing at the gate was Wu Chengfeng, the governor of Northern Plains County, accompanied by Nan Xiangtian, the head of the Nan family. They had come to investigate the strange energy shifts from a month ago. They had expected to find a hidden treasure, not a massacre led by a transcendent master. Jingyuan turned to them, his aura cold. Are you two their helpers? No, don't misunderstand, Governor Wu said quickly, raising his hands. I am the governor. I only wanted to ask what was happening. This is Master Nan. We aren't here to fight. He looked at the bodies on the floor, then at the calm teenager eating fruit in the back. He knew the Qin family had once been a titan in the Great Zhou Empire before falling into obscurity. Looking at the power on display, he realized one thing. The Qin family wasn't just surviving. They were coming back for everything. Nan Xiangtian nodded respectfully to Qin Jingyuan. Even though he was a powerful family head, he was only at the 9th level of the Qi refining realm. Jingyuan, on the other hand, had reached the transcendent realm. The gap was massive. Both the governor and Nan Xiangtian couldn't help but steal glances at me. They had seen everything. The man actually giving the orders, the one who decided who lived and who died, was a teenager who looked like he didn't have a lick of cultivation. So, the governor of Northern Plains and the head of the Nan family, Jingyuan said with a faint, confident smile. What brings you to my home today? With his new strength and the family's backing, he didn't need to fear them. Even Governor Wu was only at the peak of the 9th level of Qi refining. Right now, my Qin family had 5 people at that level. We were the dominant force here. Governor Wu laughed awkwardly. He started to speak, but his words died in his throat when he looked at me. I wasn't paying attention to them. I was watching Big Yellow. The dog looked bored. He stood up, stretched, and started to walk away with a look of pure disappointment. Big Yellow, you're not watching anymore? I asked, chuckling. The dog turned his head and sighed. It's boring. The acting is terrible, and the fight was even worse. The melon was okay, I guess. But it's nothing like the duel between Lin Shangliu and Wu Mingdao back in the day. Now that was a show. Big Yellow shook his head, his eyes clouding over with human-like nostalgia. Hearing those names brought back memories for me too. It's been 1,000 years, hasn't it? I wonder if those two are still around, I mused. With their talent, they're probably still kicking, Big Yellow said. Since you're going to be out and about for a while, we should go find them and catch up. I nodded. That's not a bad idea. Governor Wu and Nan Xiangtian stood there, completely frozen. Their brains were short-circuiting. A dog was talking. Not just barking, but speaking fluent human language. And what were they talking about? 1,000 years? Had these two really lived that long? Master Chun, who are these two? Governor Wu asked, his voice trembling as he looked at Jingyuan. Oh, this is our Chun family ancestor, Jingyuan replied casually. As for Big Yellow, he's no ordinary dog. Is he a rank 5 spirit beast? Nan Xiangtian stammered. No, Jingyuan said proudly. He's the king of dogs. Big Yellow stumbled mid-step. He stopped and glared back at us. Damn it, are we still on this? King of dogs? Your whole family are dog kings. The governor and Nan Xiangtian exchanged terrified looks. They didn't care if he was a dog king or a god. A creature that could speak and talk about ancient history was something they couldn't afford to provoke. Junior Wu Chengfeng greets the senior, the governor shouted, bowing so low his head nearly hit his knees. Junior Nan Xiangtian greets the senior. The other followed suit, looking like a pair of obedient grandsons. I gave them a slight nod. Continue. Tell me why you're really here. I didn't care if my identity seemed fake to them. The talking dog was proof enough that I was someone dangerous. Governor Wu didn't dare lie. Senior, a month ago, the spiritual energy in the entire northern plains was suddenly drained. Wu Chengfeng explained quickly. As the governor, I had to investigate. The trail led to Yangui City. I didn't expect to walk into this. Please understand, I was just doing my job. If it's just your job, then forget it, I said. I wasn't interested in petty grudges with local officials. I turned my attention to Chun Yinxian. Yinxian, have you ever killed anyone? The boy blinked, caught off guard. No, ancestor. I haven't. Good. Then I have a task for you. Take a few men to the Su and Ning estates. Man, woman, old, or young, leave no one alive. The courtyard went silent. Everyone gasped. Even the governor and Nan Shangtian looked horrified. I was ordering a total massacre. Ancestor. Yinxian hesitated. The elites of those families are already dead. They aren't a threat anymore. Do we really have to do this? Foolish, I said, my voice turning cold. If you choose to be someone's enemy, why show mercy? You must pull the grass out by the roots. Never underestimate a potential danger. Even one survivor can cause consequences you can't handle later. To survive in this world, you need talent and courage, but you also need a cold heart. Being kind to your enemy is being cruel to yourself. Do you understand? Yinchuan's expression hardened. He took a deep breath and bowed. Yinxian understands. Go. You have to face this sooner or later. Better to get used to it now. Yinxian nodded and led a group of men out of the gates, heading straight for the rival families' homes. I turned back to the governor, who was sweating buckets. You're the governor, right? You don't mind me cleaning up a bit, do you? I asked with a smile. Mind? Only a fool would mind. Wu Chengfeng said, waving his hands frantically. As long as you don't kill me, you can kill whoever you want, senior. I wouldn't dream of interfering. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Senior, the governor said, trying to find a way to stay on my good side. The Chen family's strength is too great for a small place like Yangui City. Why don't I arrange a better territory for you to move to? He knew if he kept us in his province, he'd have the most powerful allies in the empire. But I just shook my head. No need. We'll be leaving this place soon anyway. May I ask where you are headed? The capital, I replied. The capital. The governor felt a chill. The Qin family was going back to where they started. They were going to reclaim their throne. He bowed one last time and hurried away with Nen Xiangtian. Once they were far enough away, Nen Xiangtian finally exhaled. I can't believe the Qins have an ancestor like that. But why couldn't I sense any power from him? He felt like an ordinary person. A man like that has reached heights we can't even imagine, Wu Qingfeng whispered. The sky over the great Zhou Empire is about to change. Their return to the capital is going to start a storm. He paused, his face turning pale. Wait, do you think they're going back because of that? The old contract between the Chun and Lu families? He realized he had to report this to the emperor immediately. Meanwhile, in the imperial capital, within the walls of the Lu family estate, Lu Mingyan and Lu Chengfeng were pacing nervously. It had been a month since they fled from me. They had told the family head everything, but he was still hesitating. Father, we can't wait any longer, Mingyan pleaded. If we don't act now, it'll be too late. The Lu family head looked up, his eyes narrow. You say this person is the Chun family ancestor. Is he really that strong? Did you actually see him fight? The head of the Lu family frowned, his eyes scanning Lu Qingfeng. He didn't even strike? Then how can you be so sure he's powerful? He was terrifying, Lu Qingfeng replied, his voice tight with lingering fear. I released my full pressure, and it didn't affect him at all. He didn't even blink. His cultivation must be far beyond mine. Plus, when we left, the spiritual energy of the entire northern Yuan prefecture was drained instantly. I suspect that was his doing, a warning to stay away. The Lu family head paced the room. The information was too vague. If this ancestor had reached the transcendent realm, or even higher, they were in serious trouble. But the royal family was just as dangerous to offend. In 1 month, Lu Mingyan was scheduled to be engaged to the 5th prince. The palace was already preparing. Canceling now would be like slapping the emperor in the face. Father, I know you're hesitant, Mingyan pleaded. But this man has lived for 10,000 years. If we show respect now, maybe the Qin family will show us mercy for the sake of our shared history. Even the royal family wouldn't dare provoke a monster like that. The family head went silent, his face twisted in thought. Then, suddenly, his expression shifted. He started to laugh. Wrong. We were all wrong. The Chin family almost pulled it off. What a brilliant trick. Father? What do you mean? Mengyan asked, confused. Think about it, he sneered. If the Chun family truly had an ancestor that powerful, why have they been silent for a month? If he's so strong, why play games with warnings and spiritual energy tricks? He did it for one reason, to make you afraid. He wanted you to come back here and cancel the engagement yourself. He leaned forward, his eyes cold. If we fall for it, we'll face the Emperor's fury without the Chen family lifting a finger. They're trying to destroy us without a fight. It's a desperate bluff. But father, Lu Chengfeng interrupted, his composure. He didn't seem like a fraud. That's the clever part, the head replied. He has some strength, but not much. He's likely stronger than you, but he knows he can't fight the Empire. Once Mengyan marries the fifth prince, we are part of the royal family. At that point, what can the Chins possibly do? You two are too naive. A petty scheme like this can't hide from my eyes. Lu Mengyan and Lu Chengfeng exhaled, the weight lifting from their chests. They felt foolish for almost falling for it. Those Chins are truly devious, Mengyan hissed, her face turning red with anger. They almost ruined my future. Father, we can't let this go. They still have that old marriage contract. I'm worried they'll use it to cause a scene at my engagement ceremony. Don't worry, her father smiled. You and the fifth prince are a perfect match. His uncle is the third elder of the Azure sect. The Empire and the Azure sect are practically one family. If you tell the prince about this threat, his uncle will handle it. The Qin family won't be able to stir up even a ripple. Should I tell the emperor as well? She asked. No, he cautioned. The royal family cares about their reputation. That's why I sent you two to handle the Qins quietly in the first place. The fewer people who know about this old contract, the better. Go find the prince now. Eliminate this threat before it grows. While the Lu family plotted, we were already miles away from Yangwiching. Look at that. Is that a dog? I must be dreaming. I've never seen anything like it. Damn it, even a dog has a horse to ride. I can't even afford a donkey. It had been 3 days since I left the city with Chun Yinxian and Big Yellow. Everywhere we went, we drew a crowd. It wasn't because of me or my disciple. It was because Big Yellow insisted on riding his own horse. A dog on horseback was a sight nobody could ignore. At first, Chun Yinxian was mortified. He wasn't used to being the center of attention, especially when the attention was mostly people laughing at his dog. But after 3 days, he'd gone numb to it. Yinxian, I asked, looking at the horizon. Are we still in the northern Yuan prefecture? I haven't traveled much, ancestor, he admitted. But based on our pace, I think we are. 3 days, and we hadn't even left the prefecture. We were moving at a crawl. I looked over at the yellow dog sitting proudly in his saddle. Big Yellow, this is your fault. If you weren't so insistent on riding, we'd be halfway there by now. Big Yellow shot me a look of pure disdain. His voice echoed in my head through our mental link. So what? I've lived a long time. Can't I enjoy the finer things? You get to ride me all the time, but I can't ride a horse? Why are you in such a rush? You've got a long life ahead of you. Relax. I shook my head. This dog had been incredibly cranky lately. Maybe he was lonely? I wondered if finding him a nice female dog would cheer him up. I started to grin at the thought. Big Yellow caught my expression and stiffened. He knew that look. Whatever I was thinking, it wasn't good for him. You're a liar. Smash his stall. A sudden shouting match nearby broke my train of thought. A group of burly men had surrounded a small fortune-telling booth. They looked ready to draw blood. Wait, please, the old fortune-teller cried out. Tell me what I got wrong. 7 days ago, one of the men roared. You told me I was facing a bloody disaster. You said a great calamity was coming, and I had to leave town for a week. Right. Yes, the old man stammered. That is what the stars showed. Well, I didn't leave. I stayed right here for all 7 days. And look at me. No disaster. No blood. You're nothing but a fraud. The crowd started jeering. I watched from my horse, curious. In this world, people usually didn't lie about fate, not unless they were very brave or very stupid. The crowd muttered as they watched the scene unfold. This old man had been running his stall here for 2 or 3 months, and who knew how many people he'd scammed. Now that someone had finally come to settle the score, most bystanders were just waiting for the show. They spat on the ground, cursing the fake fortune teller, hoping the thugs would beat him half to death. But the old man didn't look scared. Despite the angry shouts and the judging eyes of the crowd, he just looked at the burly leader and shook his head with a heavy sigh. "I can't save you this time," he muttered. "A disaster star has entered your palace. There's no way back. You're on your own." "Still trying to trick me?" the big man roared, his face turning purple. "A bloody disaster, right? Well, did you predict that today would be your bloody disaster? Do it. Break him." The thugs lunged forward, but before they could lay a finger on the old man, a blur of movement cut through the air. In a flash, a figure appeared. Thud, thud, thud. The burly man's lackeys were sent flying, hitting the ground with sickening groans. Everyone froze. They were stunned. Did this old fraud actually have a bodyguard? "I told you," the old man said with a sly, mischievous grin. "You have a bloody disaster coming. You just wouldn't listen." The leader ignored the old man and glared at the newcomer. It was Chen Yinxian. I had sent him in to intervene. "Who are you?" the thug spat. "Why are you helping him?" Chen Yinxian looked at him with cold, indifferent eyes. "This man isn't someone you can touch. Leave. Now." "Not someone I can touch." The thug laughed, though he looked nervous. "Don't think I'm easily scared. My brother-in-law is a guard for the Nan family. If you mess with me, the Nan family won't let you live." The Nan family? So this was their territory. Chen Yinxian hadn't expected that, but he didn't care. "Looking at you," Yinxian said. "I doubt you even know who the Nan family really is. Get lost." The thug snapped and swung a fist, but Yinxian didn't give him the chance. He delivered a swift kick to the man's chest, sending him spiraling through the air. The man hit the dirt hard, coughing up a mouthful of bright red blood. A bloody disaster. It really happened. The man stared at the blood on the ground, his face pale. "Impossible. It's been 7 days." "How?" The old man sighed, looking genuinely disappointed. "You forgot, didn't you? 7 days ago, you came to see me in the afternoon. You're still an hour short of a full week. If you hadn't come back to pick a fight, you would have been fine. You played me." The thug screamed, clutching his chest. "You're dead. Just you wait." "I'm going to." "Wait." Chen Yinxian interrupted. He remembered my teachings well. When you pull up weeds, you must dig out the roots. If this man was already making threats, there was no reason to let him live. The old man turned to the shrinking crowd, waving his hands. "See? I told you. A great calamity. I'm not a fraud, I swear. Anyone else want a reading?" The crowd didn't wait to hear another word. They turned and bolted, not wanting any part of this bad luck. Once the street cleared, the old man sighed again. "People misunderstand me so deeply." He turned to Chen Yinxian and bowed slightly. "Thank you, young friend. I see you have an extraordinary aura. You are destined for greatness. Why don't I?" "No need." Yinxian cut him off. He didn't like the old man. "I was just following orders." "Following orders?" The old man's eyes twinkled. He looked past Yinxian toward where I was sitting on my horse. He grinned and scurried over to me. "Thank you for the help, little friend. I see you have an extraordinary aura. You are destined." "Cut the act," I said, a small smile tugging at my lips. "It's been a long time. How are you not dead yet?" The old man stopped mid-sentence. He dropped the act instantly, his eyes widening with recognition. "Look at you talking," he chuckled. "You're not dead either, are you?" Chen Yinxian stood there, completely baffled. "Ancestor, you two know each other?" He clearly thought the old man was just a petty crook. "This isn't the place to talk," I said. "Let's find somewhere quiet to catch up." We headed to a nearby tavern and took a private room. I sat across from him, Big Yellow resting at my feet. "It's been 3,000 years since we last met," the old man mused, looking at me and then at the dog. "You and Big Yellow haven't changed a bit. It feels like a lifetime ago." Yinchuan's jaw dropped. He knew I was old, but he couldn't believe this scruffy old man had been around that long too. "Senior," Yinxian asked, "if you're an old friend of my ancestor, you must be a powerful figure. Why did you let those thugs push you around?" I chuckled. "Yinxian, you don't know who this is. This is Wang Tianji, the third-generation master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. He's very strong. He just does so many unethical things that he constantly suffers from divine retribution." "Retribution?" Yinxian asked. What's the heavenly secret pavilion? Wang Tianji gave a bitter smile. Don't tease me in front of the kid. My lineage tries to peer into the secrets of heaven, and we pay the price for it. Every 1,000 years, our bodies fail. We age rapidly and lose all our cultivation for 10 years. During that time, we're as weak as ordinary mortals. It's our most dangerous period. I frowned. If you're in your weak phase, why would you travel all the way to the great Zhou Empire? With your current strength, walking here would take more than 10 years. The math didn't add up. Wait, I realized. The first time I met you, you were in this state. But based on the timeline, you shouldn't be hitting your weak phase for another 300 years. Why is it happening now? Wang Tianji sighed. About a year ago, I had a sudden feeling. I performed a divination and found that the secrets of heaven were in total chaos. Something huge is coming. Then, I sensed that an old friend would appear in this tiny great Zhou Empire. I couldn't figure out who it was, but I don't have many friends left. The only person whose fate I can never see through is you. He looked at me, then shifted his gaze to Chun Yinxian. I came here because I calculated a chance to meet you. But I didn't expect this kid next to you to be the same way. Is your Qin family just full of monsters? I leaned back, satisfied. My descendants are obviously not ordinary. So, you triggered your retribution early just to find me? You didn't come all this way just to reminisce, did you? Wang Tianji laughed. Actually, you're wrong. I really did just come here to catch up. Maybe it's just because I'm getting old, Wang Tianji said with a faint smile. I just wanted to see an old friend. As for the secrets of heaven, I can't see them clearly anymore. I don't know what's coming, so I've decided to stop worrying about it. I nodded. Fine. Then today, we only talk about the past. Nothing else. We spent the next hour drinking and laughing, swapping stories like the world wasn't falling apart outside. We didn't mention the chaos or the omens again. Chen Yinxian sat beside us, quietly refilling our cups. I could see the wonder in his eyes. He was realizing that his ancestor didn't just have power, I had connections to legends. Finally, Wang Tianji patted his belly and stood up. That was satisfying. I haven't felt this good in a long time. It was worth the long trip. But all good things must end. It's time for me to go. I looked at him calmly. Leaving already? Yes, he replied. It's time. I didn't try to stop him. I just gave him a short nod. After he walked out of the restaurant, Chen Yinxian turned to me, looking worried. Ancestor, will he be in danger? He asked. He said he lost his cultivation. He won't be, I said. He learned his lesson once. A man like him doesn't make the same mistake twice. Don't forget, he's the third-generation leader of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. Do you really think he'd travel without protection? Yinxian blinked. You mean? Senior Wang has people protecting him in the shadows? Then why did you have me step in earlier? I was just playing along to help him finish his act, I told him. Then I looked at my disciple. Yinxian, what do you think of Wang Tianji? Yinxian thought for a long moment. I can't see through him, ancestor. I don't know him well enough to judge. But since he's your friend, I assume he's a good man. I chuckled, which made Yinxian nervous. A man who spends his life trying to spy on the heavens is never simple. You really think he came all this way just for a drink? He isn't a villain, but he's definitely not a saint either. Yinxian looked confused. He thought we were best friends based on how we were laughing earlier. He started replaying everything that had happened since we met the old man. I stayed quiet, letting him think it through. Ancestor, Yinxian finally said. It's true he predicted the chaos, and it's true he wanted to see you. But he lied about his reasons. If he knows something big is coming, he must know the details. He didn't say a word about them. He has an agenda. I nodded, satisfied. Not a bad analysis. If that's the case, Yinxian said, his voice turning cold. Why didn't we force the truth out of him while he was weak? Or just end him? Was he really weak? I asked with a smile. Did you notice his aura? The moment he stepped out of this building, it vanished completely. Is that something a man with zero cultivation can do? Yinxian froze. He hadn't noticed. He realized he had been played. Wang Tianji is calculating, I said. But he won't move against us. Why not? Because he's afraid, I replied. Even though we were friends, I knew he felt a strange, deep-seated fear toward me. A fear he couldn't even explain to himself. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Wang Tianji was no longer the frail old man. He stood tall, his true appearance restored. A group of shadows knelt before him. Greetings, Pavilion Master, they whispered. Once we return, watch Chen Yunxuan's every move, Wang Tianji ordered. He's just starting to show his talent, but his future is limitless. The more we know about him, the better. Understood, one subordinate said. What about Qin Chang'an? Wang Tianji frowned. He had come to this tiny empire to test me, but just like 3,000 years ago, he saw nothing. All his training, all his divination, it was useless against me. Chen Yunxian has great fortune, Wang Tianji muttered. He will be a major player in the coming storm. But what role does Qin Chang'an play? Is he a piece on the board, or the one who breaks the board? The subordinates were curious. The heavenly secret pavilion knew everything about everyone, yet there was zero information on this Qin Chang'an. It was like he didn't exist in history. Since you can't see through him, Master, perhaps we should. Before the subordinate could finish, a massive pressure dropped from the sky. It felt like the heavens were collapsing. Wang Tianji's face turned pale. He tried to circulate his power to resist, but it was like trying to stop an ocean with a pebble. Bang! Wang Tianji and his men were slammed into the dirt, their knees shattering the ground. Heavenly Secret Pavilion. A beautiful, ice-cold voice echoed through the air. What is Wang Beichuan to you? Wang Tianji's heart nearly stopped. The voice belonged to a woman, and she knew his ancestor's name. He struggled to look up. A woman in a purple dress stood nearby, her face hidden behind a thin veil. It was my master, Mu Yunyao. He is my family's ancestor, Wang Tianji stammered. Humph. For the sake of that brat Beichuan, I'll spare you today, she said. Her voice was like a blade at his throat. Do whatever you want, but do not plot against Qin Chang'an. If you do, I will wipe out your entire clan. My people are not for you to calculate. Cold sweat poured down Wang Tianji's face. He knew I was strong, but he never imagined I had a protector like this. He wondered if we were lovers, or if I had sent her to warn him. Senior, please rest assured, Wang Tianji gasped. I am Chen's friend. I would never plot against him. You wouldn't dare, she replied coldly. Now, tell me why you really showed up. What exactly did your heavenly secret pavilion discover? My master, Mu Yunyao, asked coldly. Wang Tianji hesitated for a moment before whispering. I wonder if Senior has heard. The heaven, earth, and mortal rankings have reappeared in the world. My master's brow furrowed instantly. The 3 rankings? When? Initially, it was just my own calculation, Wang Tianji explained, his voice trembling. But a month ago, our pavilion received definitive news. The rankings have truly manifested. Senior should know what their appearance signifies. My master knew better than anyone. She had lived through the last era of the rankings, but that was tens of thousands of years ago. Why now? Why after all this time? What was the exact date they appeared? She demanded. It should have been the 5th day of the 6th month, Wang Tianji replied. My master's heart skipped a beat. The 5th day of the 6th month. That was the exact moment I had absorbed the fetal bead and regained my ability to cultivate. The rankings had strict age limits that she didn't fit, yet the moment I started my journey, the world changed. Was it a coincidence? Or was I the trigger? She remembered the chaos of the last era. Countless top-tier powers had risen during that time, and many others had been slaughtered. If the rankings were back, the world was about to descend into madness. The heaven, earth, and mortal rankings were manifestations of the heavenly Tao's will. Those who made it onto the lists received divine rewards that every cultivator dreamed of. They didn't open all at once, though. The first to activate was always the mortal ranking. It was restricted to those under 30 years old. It tested speed of cultivation, raw strength, and natural talent. In short, the mortal ranking was a brutal audition. It was designed to weed out the weak. Because the stakes were so high, the competition was lethal. People didn't just fight for spots. They hunted down talented rivals to clear the path for their own kin. My master had been a beneficiary of the rankings once. But she was a loner. She never built a sect or joined a clan. In all these years, she had only ever taken one disciple, me. Senior, Wang Tianji said, breaking her train of thought. This time, something feels different. My master caught his meaning immediately. You mean they haven't actually opened yet? Exactly, Wang Tianji nodded. Last time, the rankings opened the moment they appeared. The heavenly Tao announced it to the entire world. But this time, only the major powers have sensed it. The mortal ranking remains closed. Where are they? She asked. Still at Cloud Mist Peak. Yes, Wang Tianji confirmed. 3 scrolls of different colors are hovering at the summit. But the peak is shrouded in a violent energy barrier. No one can get close, let alone reach the top. You can only see the flickering lights from a distance. My master didn't say another word. She glanced at him once, then vanished into thin air. Once she was gone, Wang Tianji and his men collapsed, gasping for air. The pressure had been suffocating. Master, who was that? One of his subordinates whispered. Wang Tianji wiped the sweat from his brow. I don't know her name, but she knows our ancestor. She is not someone we can provoke. From today on, remember this. Chen Chang'an and Chen Yunxian are friends of the pavilion, not enemies. Keep a close eye on the boy. Help him when necessary. Do you understand? Yes, pavilion master. Meanwhile, I was already on the road. We weren't in a hurry, but we had a destination, the imperial capital. Yunxian, I said, looking at my young disciple. We'll reach the capital in a month. Have you set a goal for yourself? Yunxian looked confused. A goal? You mean, my cultivation level ancestor? Exactly, I said. You've reached the first level of the qi refining realm, but don't get arrogant. There are plenty of geniuses your age who are much stronger. If you don't push yourself, you'll be buried by them. Yunxian bowed his head. I understand. I won't let you down. Good, I smiled. Your mission is simple. Before we step into the capital, you must be at least at the 9th level of the qi refining realm. Can you do it? Yunxian gasped. To jump 8 levels in a single month was unheard of. It was nearly impossible. But then his eyes filled with a fierce determination. I will do it. Then let's see what you've got. 10 days later, back in Yingui City, Chen Jingyuan stood before the remaining members of the Qin family. His voice was thick with emotion. After today, we are no longer a small-town clan. We go to the capital to reclaim our rightful place as the #1 family in the empire. But remember, the Great Zhou is just the beginning. Do not fail the ancestor. Yes, patriarch, they roared. Move out. Following my instructions, Jingyuan had waited 10 days to start the move, using that time to drill the family and boost their strength. But as they stepped out of the gates, they were blocked. 8 men stood in their path, wearing arrogant smiles. Cutting it close, one of them laughed. If we'd been any later, these rats might have actually escaped. Jingyuan didn't look surprised. I had warned him this would happen. He felt a cold satisfaction rising in his chest. A pathetic little Qin family, another man sneered. The 5th prince's uncle shouldn't have bothered sending all 8 of us. I could wipe you all out alone. Don't be greedy, a third chimed in. We came all this way. Let's split them up and see who can kill the most. These were experts from the Clear Sky sect, sent by the 5th prince's uncle to exterminate my family. To a man of his status, the Chen family was beneath his notice. He hadn't even bothered to come himself. Jingyuan looked at their matching sect robes and narrowed his eyes. You think 8 of you are enough to end the Chen family? You're dreaming. You must be from the Clear Sky sect, Chen Jingyuan said, his voice cold as ice. Do you really think that within the borders of Great Zhou, no one dares to provoke you? The leader of the 8 men let out a disdainful laugh. Big words. But you're right. In this country, no one touches us. What about it? Does your pathetic Qin family actually have the guts? Why wouldn't we? Jingyuan sneered. He didn't waste another breath. He moved. His long blade cut through the air, releasing a massive wave of energy that surged toward the group. The arrogance on their faces vanished instantly. They felt the raw power behind that strike, and their hearts skipped a beat. Something's wrong. One shouted. Who said the Qin family had no experts? This strength. He's in the transcendent realm. It was the last thing he ever said. With a single, devastating roar of his blade, Jingyuan cut them all down. In an instant, the 8 experts were nothing but corpses on the ground. Jingyuan wiped his blade, looking at the bodies. The Clear Sky sect really didn't take us seriously. Lucky for us, they came late. It gave me enough time to push my cultivation to the 5th level of the transcendent realm. He looked toward the horizon, his thoughts turning to me. I wonder where the ancestor and Yunxian are by now. Meanwhile, in the capital of Great Zhou, the atmosphere was shifting. The 5th prince had been summoned to the palace by his father, the king. He was confused. He'd been busy preparing for his engagement ceremony to Lu Mingyan. He assumed his father wanted to discuss the wedding details. I've received some news, the king started, his eyes heavy. It's about the Qin family. You know the history between them and the Lu family, don't you? The fifth prince felt a jolt of nervousness, but he played it cool. I know about it, father. But don't worry. I've already sent people to handle it. It won't affect the wedding. Mingyan is a genius, and the Clear Sky sect is pouring resources into her. We love each other. Whatever old contracts existed between the Lu and Qin families are dead and buried. The king raised a hand, silencing him. His brow was furrowed with deep concern. Seeing this, the prince grew even more anxious, fearing his relationship with Mingyan was in jeopardy. See for yourself, the king said, tossing a letter onto the table. This came from Wu Chengfeng, the governor of Beiyuan Prefecture. The prince scanned the letter and actually started to laugh. Is this it? Father, I told you I know about this. It's just a desperate scheme by the Qin family. As for this so-called ancestor, he's a joke. I've already asked my uncle to go wipe them out. By now, they're probably all dead. The king didn't laugh. He stared at his son with a piercing intensity. There's more information in there. Look again. What else could there be? The prince asked, confused. A dog. The king roared, finally losing his temper. A talking dog. Are your eyes just for show? How could you miss a detail that important? The prince froze. A dog? What dog? How can a dog talk? His mind went blank for a second, then the realization hit him like a physical blow. A talking dog meant a spirit beast. Any beast capable of human speech had to be at least at the 5th rank. A 5th-rank beast could level the entire Great Zhou kingdom on its own. Why didn't Lu Mingyan tell me this? The prince whispered, his voice trembling. Father, is this news real? Mingyan never mentioned a talking dog. Wu Chengfeng doesn't have the courage to lie to me, the king said. The dog exists. If Lu Mingyan didn't tell you, there are only 2 possibilities. Either she didn't know, or she hid it from you on purpose. She didn't know. The prince snapped, his loyalty blind. She would never lie to me. The king sighed, feeling a wave of disappointment. This son was his most talented, the one he pinned his hopes on. But since meeting Lu Mingyan, it was like the boy had lost his brain. Fine. Whether she knew or not doesn't matter anymore, the king said. How do you plan to handle this? The prince forced himself to think. His uncle was already on the move. Best case scenario, his uncle succeeded. Worst case, he failed. And if he failed, the Qin family would be coming for blood. We need a 2-pronged plan, the prince said. First, we prepare for peace talks. We offer enough to quench the Qin family's anger. But second, if they're unreasonable, we can't just sit and wait for death. Even if we have to go down with them, we fight. The king nodded, satisfied. His son was finally thinking like a royal again. Your uncle adores you. Are you prepared to lose him? To have him be the sacrifice if the Qin family demands a head for their peace? The prince's expression hardened. He loves me, yes. But I am a member of the royal family. The crown comes first. If I have to sacrifice him to save the kingdom, I will. I'm sure he'd understand. Cruel, the king remarked. But that's how great men are made. However, your plan is still a bit naive. The Clear Sky sect is our greatest ally. Your uncle is their 3rd elder, but don't forget your grandfather is one of their grand elders. His power rivals our own royal ancestor. We cannot simply throw your uncle away. The king leaned back. I've invited the great families to the engagement ceremony. Great Zhou was built with their support. They won't stand by and watch us fall. If the Qin family accepts an apology, great. If not, we unite every power we have and erase them. But that is a last resort. The prince frowned. He didn't know much about these great families. He had always heard the Clear Sky sect was their true backbone. Father, I thought the sect was our patron. A lie, the king said. The great families are the true masters of the northern region. They are kings. But because war between them is too costly, they use us. They treat the kingdoms like a chessboard. We are the pieces they move to settle their disputes without losing their own men. The prince felt a surge of resentment. So we're just pawns? What else can we be? If we rebel, they could replace the great Zhou dynasty by tomorrow morning. Now enough of that. Move our troops. Station everyone near the capital. We need to be ready for anything. Yes, father. The day of the engagement arrived. The city was buzzing. Everyone was talking about how lavish the ceremony was. But as the guests arrived with their gifts, none of them knew that a storm was about to break over the capital. The scale of the engagement was massive. If I hadn't known better, I would have thought the king himself was getting married. People in the capital were whispering in every tavern. They couldn't believe a fifth prince's engagement was getting this much attention. Every family with even a shred of status had sent representatives. Even 2 grand elders from the Clear Sky sect had arrived in person. The rumors were flying. People said the Liu family had hit the jackpot by clinging to the prince. They were calling the Liu family the future #1 clan of the Great Zhou. I sat in a quiet tavern, listening to the chatter. I looked over at Chen Yinxian and gave him a calm smile. I asked him if he was afraid. He just shook his head and smiled back. He had changed. The timid boy from Yingwei City was gone. His gaze was steady, his posture composed. These past few weeks of travel had done wonders for him. He finally understood that a man can't grow if he stays huddled in his own backyard. I told him to rest well. Tomorrow was going to be his stage. Back in my room, I turned to Big Yellow. I asked him if he could sense the fetal bead. I had seen one back at the Chen family, and since Big Yellow was so close to me, I thought he might have a lead. He just gave me a look like I was an idiot. He told me the bead had no aura at all. He said even if my master showed up, he wouldn't be able to sense it. I frowned. Everything has an aura, but apparently, this bead was the exception. Big Yellow told me that since it was tied to me, nothing about it was normal. I sighed. I had hoped he could sniff it out if it was hidden in the palace. Now, it looked like I'd have to ask the royal family myself. The next day arrived. The king had moved the ceremony directly into the royal palace. The Liu family patriarch was beaming, his face red with pride. This ceremony was even bigger than he expected. It gave both the royals and the Liu family immense face. As the guests mingled, Liu Qingfeng leaned in close to the patriarch. He whispered that their men had returned from Yingwei City. The Chen family was gone. They didn't know if the prince's uncle had already finished them off. The patriarch's brow furrowed, but he quickly spotted the 3rd elder of the Clear Sky sect. The elder saw him and smiled. He told the patriarch they were all family now and asked what was wrong. When the patriarch mentioned the Chun family's disappearance, the elder just scoffed. He told him not to worry. He had sent his own people. A tiny family like the Chins wasn't worth a second thought. The patriarch let out a long breath of relief. He returned to his seat, his smile brighter than ever. The time finally came. An eunuch shouted for the ceremony to begin. The 5th prince looked at Lu Mengyan with eyes full of tenderness. She looked back at him with a face full of simulated bliss. They walked onto the stage hand in hand. The guests started clapping and shouting compliments. They called them a match made in heaven. They were all competing to see who could flatter the couple the loudest. The prince took Lu Mengyan's hand. He promised to make her the happiest woman in the world. He said he would give her everything, even his life. She looked at him and said he was the only person in the world who was truly good to her. She knew exactly what to say to make his heart race. The prince was so infatuated he looked ready to give her the moon. The eunuch chuckled and nudged them to get on with the formal business. The prince declared to the entire crowd that from this day forward, Lu Mengyan was his. He said no one would ever take her from him. The applause was deafening. The atmosphere reached a fever pitch. That was when I decided to speak up. Since that's the case, I said, my voice cutting through the noise. How could our Qin family let you down? We've prepared a special gift just for you. The room went dead silent. The cheering stopped instantly. Everyone looked around, stunned. No one could believe someone had the guts to speak like that at a royal event. The Qin family, someone whispered. Which Qin family? Most of the guests were confused, but the Liu family members turned pale. They knew exactly who it was. The Liu patriarch looked at the 3rd elder, whose face had turned grim. Even the king, who had been calm, narrowed his eyes. A royal guard stepped forward, his hand on his sword. Impudent! Who dares speak such nonsense? Do you know where you are? The head eunuch stepped forward immediately, his voice shrill with rage as he barked at the crowd, demanding to know who dared to speak. I watched from the shadows as Chun Yinxian stepped out. If I didn't come, he said, his voice ringing through the hall, how could the eldest daughter of the Liu family ever reclaim her innocence and her freedom? The crowd exploded. People started whispering frantically, repeating those words over and over. Innocence. Freedom? There was so much subtext in that one sentence. The guests started looking at Lu Mingyan with suspicious eyes. Was it possible she wasn't as pure as she claimed? Nonsense, the fifth prince roared, his face flushed with fury. Who are you? Show yourself. Whether the claim was true or not didn't matter. In a place like this, a rumor was as good as a fact. Lu Mingyan's reputation was being dragged through the mud in front of everyone who mattered. Chen Yinxian didn't hesitate. With a blur of movement, he bypassed the guards and landed right in front of the stage. The guests gasped when they saw how young he was. He looked like a boy. They thought he was on a suicide mission. Chen Yinxian. Lu Mingyan screamed, her eyes burning with hatred. How dare you insult me like this? Yinxian just smiled coldly. Did I say something wrong? You haven't forgotten the contract between the Lu and Chen families already, have you? As the daughter of the Lu patriarch, you were bound by blood to marry into my family. Now you're getting engaged to another man. What do we call that? Betrayal? Infidelity? He stepped closer, his voice dripping with sarcasm. If it wasn't true, why did you crawl to the Chun family house the other day begging for that contract back? The room went silent again, but this time it was the silence of realization. People started remembering. Years ago, the Lu family had been nothing but subordinates to the Chen family. To secure their status, they had signed a permanent marriage pact. But the Chun family had fallen into ruin, and everyone assumed the deal was dead. The Chen family? Someone muttered. I almost forgot they existed. Coming here now isn't brave, another guest whispered. It's stupid. He's going to bring total destruction down on his clan. The king sat on his throne, his expression unreadable. He let out a long, slow laugh that sent chills through the room. The Chen family actually produced an interesting young man in this generation. What is your name? Chen Yinxian. And did you come alone? The king asked. He was testing him. I knew what he was really looking for. He wanted to know if I was there. He wanted to find the old ancestor and the talking dog that his spies couldn't track down. Yinxian looked the king dead in the eye, showing zero fear. I'm just here to deliver a gift. I'm enough for that. A gift? The king asked. You mean that old contract? Of course not, Yinxian replied. I'm here to deliver a letter of divorce. The hall turned into a madhouse. People thought he had finally lost his mind. Delivering a divorce letter on a royal engagement day? That wasn't just an insult, it was a death warrant. You're lying. Lu Mingyan shrieked. I never had an engagement with you. You have no right. Maybe not a personal one, Yinxian countered. But that contract was real. You're a woman who breaks her word and ignores her duties. The Chen family doesn't want you, and we don't need you. This letter is my gift to the happy couple. It's the thought that counts, right? You're dead, the fifth prince screamed. He couldn't take it anymore. He lunged off the stage, his fist glowing with energy as he charged at Yinxian. Yinxian didn't even flinch. You think you're worthy of fighting me? He threw a single, casual punch. There was a sickening thud, and the fifth prince was sent flying backward, crashing into the furniture like a broken doll. The silence that followed was heavy. The fifth prince was at the 9th level of the essence-gathering realm, one of the top geniuses in the Great Zhou. And this kid had taken him out with one hit. What's his cultivation level? Someone shouted. I can't see through it. Neither can I. Is he in the Qi realm? At 16 years old. No, a deep voice interrupted. It was Wei Tianfeng, one of the grand elders of the Rising Sun sect and the prince's grandfather. He stood up slowly, his eyes locked on Yinxian. First level of the transcendent realm. Boy, how old are you really? 16, Yinxian said firmly. The room collectively lost its breath. A 16-year-old transcendent? It was unheard of. Lu Qingfeng, who had seen Yinxian just 2 months ago, looked like he'd seen a ghost. 2 months ago, the kid was barely at the essence-gathering level. To jump that many stages in 60 days was impossible. The guests looked at Yinxian with a mix of awe and pity. He was a monster, a once-in-a-thousand-years genius. But he had shown his hand too early. The royal family would never let a threat like him live. Wei Tianfeng, however, didn't attack. He actually smiled. You are quite remarkable. This petty grudge between the Chun and Lu families doesn't need to end in blood. If you join the Rising Sun sect and become my disciple, I'll forget everything that happened today. What do you say? He was trying to recruit him. He saw the potential and wanted it for himself. I watched from the sidelines, my expression unreadable. Wei Tianfeng was a grand elder of the Rising Sun sect, and his move surprised everyone. Most people in his position would have cared more about their reputation, but he was smart. He saw a once-in-a-lifetime talent and wanted to claim it. Wu Yuan, another grand elder and an ancestor of the great Zhou royal family, stepped forward next. If you join the Rising Sun sect, Wu Yuan added, the royal family will drop everything. We will forget your crimes. The fifth prince looked like he had been slapped. Grandfather? Ancestor? He just hit me. The king of Great Zhou glared at his son. A leader doesn't sweat the small stuff. If you can't handle this little bit of grievance, you'll never rule. He then turned to the head of the Liu family with a cold smile. You don't mind, do you? The engagement will proceed as planned. The Liu patriarch bowed his head quickly. I wouldn't dare. Whatever the king decides is law. The room went quiet. Every eye was on Yinxian. It was the deal of a lifetime. Join the strongest sect, gain the favor of the crown, and walk away a hero. Yinxian looked at the powerful men sitting on their high thrones. He didn't bow. He didn't even blink. He just smiled. I refuse, he said clearly. None of you are worthy of making me bow my head. The crowd gasped. Yunchuan's cultivation path was one of absolute dominance. He wasn't built to bend, and a tiny place like the Rising Sun sect wasn't fit to hold him. Wei Tianfeng's face turned ashen. So, you've chosen the hard way. I choose my own path, Yinxian countered. You don't have the qualifications to tell me what to do. Arrogant brat. Wei Tianfeng roared. To everyone's shock, the Grand Elder didn't send a guard. He moved himself. For a man of his status to attack a teenager was a disgrace, but he was too angry to care. Yinxian didn't flinch. In fact, he looked excited. I've been wanting to test my progress. You'll do just fine. The guests thought he was insane. He was facing death, yet he was grinning. Suddenly, a golden light erupted from Yunchuan's body. He became a blur, a golden streak of lightning charging straight at the Grand Elder. Boom. The collision shook the hall. Wei Tianfeng's eyes widened as he was forced back, his feet skidding 10 meters across the floor. The silence was deafening. A 16-year-old had just pushed back a peak transcendent master with a single punch. Yinxian looked at his fist, a surge of joy hitting him. My teachings were working. Cultivation levels were just numbers. The quality of his techniques was what truly mattered. Even at the first level, he could stand his ground against the ninth. You, Yinxian said, pointing his finger at Wu Yuan, the royal ancestor. You come too. I want to see if I can handle both of you at once. The room erupted in whispers. He was a madman. 1-on-2? Against the strongest men in the kingdom? Wei Tianfeng snarled, realizing he had been too careless. He hadn't used his full strength, but he wouldn't make that mistake again. Don't think a little strength makes you invincible. Wei Tianfeng lunged forward again, and this time, Wu Yuan joined him. The three of them became a whirlwind of energy. Yinxian traded blows with both masters, his movements fluid and powerful. He wasn't just surviving. He was fighting them to a standstill. The fifth prince watched, his world crumbling. How could he be this strong? The Liu family was even more terrified. They realized they had abandoned a dragon for a snake. Lu Mingyan stared at Yinxian, her eyes shimmering with a new, dark greed. This was the kind of man she was supposed to marry. If she could win him back, her future would be limitless. The king of Great Zhou, however, saw only a threat. He leaned over to a commander. Gather every soldier. Surround the palace. If he survives this fight, kill him with 1,000 arrows. He cannot leave this place alive. Interesting, a new voice drifted through the hall. I didn't expect to find such a show in a tiny kingdom like this. The king's face lit up with relief. Young Master Cheng, you've arrived. A young man named Cheng Yushu walked in, looking bored but curious. He was from the Cheng family of the north, the true power that the great Zhou relied on for protection. Is this the engagement party? Cheng Yushu asked, eyeing the battle. It's a bit violent for a wedding, isn't it? He watched Yinxian with narrowed eyes. He had always thought he was the top genius of the north, but seeing someone younger than him fighting two-peak transcendence made his ego sting. Will the boy win? Cheng Yushu asked the old man standing behind him. The old servant, Uncle Liu, watched for a moment before shaking his head. His technique is divine, but his experience is thin. He's fighting on pure instinct and raw power. As the fight drags on, he'll tire. When his energy peaks and drops, that's when he'll fall. Cheng Yushu nodded, then turned back to the king. Is he an enemy? Yes, the king hissed. His name is Chun Yunxian, a remnant of the Qin family. A pity, Cheng Yushu said, a cold glint in his eyes. He's about to die? The king of Great Zhou looked at the old servant with a flicker of worry in his eyes. He needed reassurance. Since Uncle Lu says it's fine, I suppose there won't be any major problems, he muttered. He let out a long breath, finally relaxing. In that case, I am at ease. Young Master Cheng, please, take the seat of honor. The crowd noticed the shift. Even though most eyes were glued to the chaotic battle between Yunxian and the two elders, people started whispering about the newcomer. Who is that guy? Someone asked. No idea, another replied. But look at the king. He's being so respectful. In the entire Great Zhou kingdom, who has that kind of power? Look where he's sitting, a guest hissed. Even the two supreme elders from the Blue Cloud sect are sitting lower than him. Just how high is this guy's status? Some wondered if the king had anticipated the Chun family's arrival and called in backup beforehand. Others laughed that idea off. Even if the king knew, why would he be so afraid of the Qin family? No one could have predicted a monster like Chun Yunxian appearing. Curiosity burned, but the intensity of the fight soon pulled their attention back to the center of the hall. Meanwhile, inside the deeper reaches of the palace, Big Yellow and I were busy. We weren't watching the fight. We were hunting for my fetal bead. Can you find it or not? Big Yellow grumbled, his tail swishing impatiently. It's been ages. Aren't you worried that Kid Yunxian is going to get himself killed? If he dies, it's his fate, I said, sounding more indifferent than I felt. The Qin family has plenty of people. If he falls, I'll just train another one. Big Yellow stared at me, his eyes wide. Holy crap, you're more of a beast than I am. And I'm an actual animal. He paused, tilting his head. Wait, I'm not a beast. I'm a divine beast. But seriously, you aren't worried at all. If he wants to grow, he needs to face hardship, I explained. I was getting a headache from the search. If he can't even handle a tiny place like Great Zhou, how is he going to roam the world later? Now shut up and help me find the bead. I told you, Big Yellow snapped. That thing has no aura. I can't sense it. Finding it is on you. The best I can do is keep our presence hidden so we don't get caught. I cursed under my breath. This was a nightmare. We had searched every single treasury in the palace and found nothing. Is it possible the Zhou family doesn't even have it anymore? I wondered aloud. It had been a long time. Things get lost. Don't you find it strange? Big Yellow asked suddenly. What? What would the Zhou family even want with that thing? He said. Nobody can fuse with a fetal bead except you. To anyone else, it's just a pretty rock. Why keep it? We stopped and looked at each other. A realization hit me, and Big Yellow started let out a low, wicked chuckle. I glared at him. Don't look at me like that, the dog sneered. I'm not a member of your Qin family. Your descendants were the ones who lost it. It's perfectly normal. After 10,000 years, you're bound to have a few idiots in the bloodline. Not everyone can be like Qin Jingyuan. If they weren't such spendthrifts, you wouldn't be down to your last bead. He was mocking me, and I couldn't even argue. He was right. My descendants had screwed me over. I started piecing it together. When the Qin family fell into decline years ago, they needed a place to settle. They chose Great Zhou. To get on the good side of the royal family, they needed a gift. Something prestigious. Something that looked like a legendary treasure but couldn't be explained. The fetal bead was perfect. It was beautiful, ancient, and mysterious. My own family probably gave it away as a bribe. The Zhou family likely studied it for years, found it useless, and then, what? What do you do with a beautiful, useless stone? They probably stuck it on a crown, I muttered, feeling a wave of disgust. A king's crown or a queen's headpiece. Damn it. The thought of my life source being used as a fashion accessory made my skin crawl. Just let me have one. I looked at him, feeling a bit conflicted. He was a dog, or rather, a Qilin, and he had been stuck with me for a long time. But I couldn't just stand there and watch him eat people. No, I said firmly. We're moving on. Fine. Then I'm not going. He huffed, acting like a spoiled child. I took a deep breath to calm my nerves. Big Yellow, I've fed you the best delicacies for years. I've never let you go hungry. And now you want to eat human flesh right in front of me? Don't push it. He might look like a yellow dog, but his true form was a fierce divine beast. To him, humans were just snacks. He'd even swallowed me once. If my body weren't indestructible, I would have been dog fertilizer 10,000 years ago. But these women were part of the great Zhou royalty, and I wasn't about to let my search turn into a buffet. You're enemies with the great Zhou royalty, Big Yellow argued, his voice dripping with frustration. Didn't you tell Chen Yunxian that we don't show mercy to enemies? So what's wrong with me eating a few of them? I'm just helping you clear the obstacles. I stared at him, unimpressed. Those were the lessons I taught my disciple to make him strong, but Big Yellow was using my own logic against me. I'm a kind-hearted man, I said, keeping a straight face. I can't stand to watch such a bloody scene. Big Yellow scoffed. Kind-hearted? You're the one who told Chen Yunxian to pull them up by the roots and leave no survivors. That was a teaching moment, I countered. Besides, Chen Yunxian is the one doing the killing. What does that have to do with me? Is there a difference? You're the one who ordered it. It's completely different, I insisted. He could have refused me, but he didn't. So really, it has nothing to do with me at all. Big Yellow looked at me with pure disdain. Chen Chang'an, you are truly shameless. It's not like you just met me today, I replied. The dog looked back at the unconscious women on the ground and swallowed hard. His mouth was practically watering. There are so many of them. It's enough for a full meal. No, I said firmly. I'm serious, Big Yellow. I've fed you delicacies for years. Why do you want to eat these people? They're covered in makeup and powder. Aren't you afraid the chemicals will kill you? Big Yellow sighed, his shoulders slumping. My body isn't as indestructible as yours, but I can handle some makeup. I haven't tasted human in so long. I just wanted to reminisce about the old days. Why can't I have a little snack? Since when is eating people considered having a little snack? I shook my head. Stop talking nonsense. Let's go check on the kid. Yunxian has been holding his own for a while now. Big Yellow finally gave in, following behind me. He's actually doing quite well. To last this long against those two. If he had been given proper resources earlier in life, he'd already be a world-class genius. I nodded. Big Yellow didn't give compliments easily. He had seen the greatest talents in history, so for him to praise Yunxian meant the boy's potential was truly terrifying. If Yunxian hadn't grown up in poverty, his cultivation would be miles ahead of where it was now. Outside, the crowd was buzzing with disbelief. Is this Chen Yunxian even human? Someone whispered. He's facing two experts at the peak of the 9th level of the transcendent realm, and he's not even losing. I've heard of geniuses fighting above their level, but this is insane. The Liu family members looked like they had swallowed flies. Their faces were pale, a mix of regret and terror. If they hadn't betrayed the Chen family, if they had stayed loyal when things got tough, they could have been on the winning side of this miracle. He has to die, the head of the Liu family hissed, his eyes bloodshot. If he doesn't die, none of us will live to see tomorrow. He wasn't the only one wishing for a miracle. The king of the great Zhou was starting to panic. He had assumed Yunxian, being only at the 1st level of the transcendent realm, would crumble instantly. But the boy was far more durable than anyone expected. Master Chang, is he going to lose soon? The king asked, his voice trembling. Cheng Yushu didn't answer. He turned to his attendant. Old Liu, what do you think? The boy is strong, Old Liu analyzed calmly. His internal energy is incredibly vast, which is likely why he's lasted this long. A normal 1st-level cultivator would have run dry ages ago. But he can't hold on forever. Within 20 moves, he'll start to fade. The king let out a long breath of relief. 20 moves. This farce was finally coming to an end. In the center of the clearing, Wei Tianfeng and Wu Yuan were fuming. They were being pushed to their limits by a teenager in front of a massive crowd. It was an embarrassment that would haunt them forever. Kid, you're good. Wu Yuan spat, his breath coming in ragged gasps. But don't think you can do whatever you want just because you held us off. You're still far from winning. Yunxian didn't look tired at all. He actually smiled. Is that so? I don't think so. Suddenly, his aura exploded. A golden light surged around him, shaking the very ground beneath his feet. The air pressure became so heavy that the spectators took several steps back. Even Cheng Yushu, and old Lu stood up in shock. He was breaking through. Mid-battle, he reached the second level, someone screamed. It was unheard of. Most people needed absolute silence and hours of meditation to break through a bottleneck. Trying to do it while fighting two experts was suicide. And yet, Yinxian did it like it was nothing. Old Lu, have you ever seen this before? Cheng Yushu asked, his brow furrowed. Never, Old Lu replied, his expression grim. Either his cultivation technique is beyond our understanding, or he was suppressing his power this whole time. I suspect he was holding back on purpose. Wei Tianfeng and Wu Yuan shared a look of pure dread. He was hard enough to handle at the first level. Now that he had reached the second, the scales had tipped completely. Yinxian felt the new power coursing through his veins. He looked at his hands and grinned. The ancestor was right. Combat really is the fastest way to grow. He looked up at his two opponents, his eyes cold and sharp. This fight is over. Stop bragging. Wu Yuan roared, though his voice lacked conviction. You think one level makes a difference? Let's find out, Yinxian said. He vanished. Before Wei Tianfeng could even raise his weapon, Yinxian appeared directly in front of him. A single punch landed squarely in Wei Tianfeng's chest. The sound of breaking bones echoed through the square as the expert was sent flying like a broken doll. He hit the ground hard, coughing up a spray of crimson blood. The silence that followed was deafening. One punch, someone gasped. He took out a 9th-level expert with one punch. This wasn't just a breakthrough, it was a slaughter. Wu Yuan didn't wait to be next. He turned to bolt, his pride completely gone. He just wanted to live. Going somewhere. Yinchuan's voice came from right behind him. Wu Yuan froze. He tried to open his mouth to surrender, but the words never came out. Another punch connected, sending him spiraling through the air to land right next to his partner. The entire square was frozen in time. No one moved. No one breathed. Chen Yinxian had won, and he had done it with terrifying ease. Even old Lu, who had predicted his defeat just moments ago, could only stare in stunned silence. Old Lu's face burned with embarrassment. He had just finished predicting that Yinxian would fail within 20 moves, yet the boy hadn't just survived. He had broken through. Not only that, but he had crushed Wei Tianfeng and Wu Yuan with a single strike. We lost, Wu Yuan croaked, his voice trembling. From this day on, we will return to the Azure sect and never leave its gates. Your Qin family wins. We surrender. The two supreme elders of the most powerful sect in the Great Zhou Empire were admitting defeat. They were choosing a life of isolation just to stay alive. If anyone had suggested this yesterday, they would have been called a lunatic. But here it was, happening right in front of us. Yinxian didn't look impressed. He let out a cold, sharp laugh. You lost, so now you want to leave? If I had lost, would you have let me walk away? Do you think I'm some naive child? He took a step forward, his killing intent flaring. Nobody leaves today. This was never a sparring match. This is a battle of life and death. We aren't just measuring skill. We're deciding who gets to keep breathing. You, don't push us too far. Wu Yuan spat, his eyes darting around like a cornered rat. Push you too far. Yinchuan's voice was icy. You're a 9th-level expert who attacked a junior, and you want to talk about fairness? If I were weak, I'd be a corpse by now. You've lived this long, and you still don't understand? This world is simple. You kill me, or I kill you. I came here today prepared to die, or to kill every last one of you. The crowd murmured. Some thought he was being too harsh, but most understood the brutal logic. Is there really no room for a compromise? Wei Tianfeng asked, frowning deeply. We have no personal grudge. No personal grudge. Yinxian countered. Your Azure sect sent people to Yingwei City to attack the Qin family. Did you honestly think we'd just forget about that? The crowd gasped. Even Wei Tianfeng and Wu Yuan looked genuinely confused. They hadn't known about any mission to Yingwei City. Who did this? Wei Tianfeng roared, turning toward his own people. Which idiot did this? The third elder stepped forward, his face turning a deep shade of crimson. He tried to hide it, but he knew too many people were aware of his secret. It was me, he admitted. You. Wei Tianfeng's eyes bulged with rage. Why would you do something so stupid? I thought. Enough, Yinxian interrupted. He didn't care about their internal drama. It doesn't matter who did it. The result is the same. there will be no peace. The king of Great Zhou panicked. He realized the situation was spiraling out of control. He turned toward a young man sitting nearby. Prince Cheng Yushu, please. You have to save us. The Great Zhou is a vassal to your family. You can't just watch us fall. Cheng Yushu stood up slowly. He had been enjoying the show, but he knew he had to step in eventually. He looked at Yunxian with a patronizing smile. Cheng Yunxian, right? You're impressive. Cheng Yushu said, his voice calm and arrogant. I am Cheng Yushu, the young master of the Cheng family from the Northern Territory. I assume you've heard of us. The crowd erupted in whispers. The Northern Territory Cheng family was a titan, a power far beyond anything in the Great Zhou. Never heard of you, Yunxian said flatly. The silence that followed was heavy. People couldn't believe his audacity. Even if you didn't know them, you were supposed to be polite to someone that powerful. Cheng Yushu's smile twitched, but he laughed it off. Haha, you're an interesting guy. Well, you've heard of us now. Do me a favor and let this go. From now on, you can be a friend of the Cheng family. It's better to have friends than enemies, don't you think? The onlookers nodded, impressed by Cheng Yushu's supposed magnanimity. They whispered about how noble he looked compared to the impulsive Yunxian. Yunxian looked Cheng Yushu dead in the eye. I think your offer is trash. Cheng Yushu's face darkened instantly. So you're choosing the hard way? Kid, do you really want to die? I'm guessing I won't, Yunxian replied. Then you guessed wrong. Cheng Yushu snapped. Uncle Lu. Yes, young master, a voice replied from the shadows. Meanwhile, back in the king's private chambers, Big Yellow and I were staring at a small object on a tea table. We hadn't moved for minutes. You sure that's it? Big Yellow asked. I hope not, I said, my voice dripping with disgust. I really hope it's not. Looks like it to me, Big Yellow teased. Just a little, darker than I expected. I felt a wave of pure resentment washing over me. I want to kill someone. Who? Everyone. Not everyone, I muttered. Maybe I'll start by digging up the ancestor who lost this, then I'll move on to the king. Maybe I'll just wipe out his whole line. A bit extreme, don't you think? Big Yellow grinned. Shut up, I snapped. I was heartbroken. I had found the fetal bead, which was the good news. The bad news was that the king of Great Zhou hadn't been studying it or guarding it. He'd been using it as a worry stone. He had spent so many years rubbing it in his hands that the bead was covered in a thick, oily layer of black grime. It was literally polished with years of skin oils and sweat. How am I supposed to merge with that? I gagged. It's filthy. It's important, isn't it? Big Yellow shrugged. It's not like you have to eat it. What are you afraid of? You don't understand how disgusting this is. I don't, the dog replied. I'm a dog. Right. I forgot I'm talking to someone who used to eat. Well, you know. Hey, don't slander me. Big Yellow barked. I never did that. Oh, really? When you ate those enemies whole, do you think their stomachs were empty? You've eaten it, Yellow. You've definitely eaten it. Big Yellow actually paused to think about it. He even licked his chops. You might have a point. I don't really remember the taste, though. You're gross, I said, shivering. I took a deep breath and looked back at the oily, black bead on the table. My body was screaming at me. Every cell in my being was vibrating, demanding that I reclaim what was mine. Fine, I whispered, reaching out. Let's get this over with. If the fetal bead hadn't been so disgustingly greasy, I would have merged with it the second I saw it. I reached out and touched the stone. It vibrated instantly, reacting to my presence. In a flash, it transformed into a streak of black, oily light. Instead of sinking into my forehead like before, the light shot straight into my chest, settling where my heart beat. A wave of comfort washed over me. My body felt light, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the familiar pull of spiritual energy. I could absorb chi again. It was clear now. If I wanted to fully regain my cultivation, I had to find the remaining 7 beads. All right, I said, a small smile playing on my lips. Let's get moving. Finally, Big Yellow barked, nudging my leg. If we stay here any longer, that kid Chen Yunxian is going to be a corpse. I've been stuck helping you find stones while I'm missing the big show outside. Outside the palace walls, the air was thick with tension. A heavy thud echoed as old Lu struck Chen Yunxian again, sending him skidding back across the stone floor. Old Lu's indifferent expression was starting to crack. He looked at the boy with a mix of confusion and growing respect. Don't you fear death? Old Lu asked. You know you aren't my match, yet you keep charging. Your talent and strength are far beyond your peers. Why do this? Why keep fighting a battle you can't win? Chun Yinxian wiped a smear of blood from his mouth. He looked at the old man and laughed. It wasn't a desperate laugh, it was defiant. So what if I'm not your match? He spat. Running away is not my choice. Surrendering is not my choice. You are stronger than me, but that doesn't mean I'll give up. As long as I'm breathing, I will keep standing. I'll stand until my very last breath. A hush fell over the crowd. Even the onlookers felt a surge of admiration. This was the heart of a true cultivator. Without that unshakable will to move forward, how could anyone ever hope to reach the peak? What a pity, Old Lu sighed. He felt a rare pang of mercy. A genius like this shouldn't die here. But his young master had given an order, and he couldn't hold back. I hope you don't regret this decision. Old Lu moved, and this time, there was no hesitation. He put his full power into the strike, intending to end the fight, and Chun Yinxuan's life, in a single blow. Then, something strange happened as Chun Yinxian closed his eyes. The crowd gasped. Was he giving up, or after all that talk, was he just waiting for death? Old Lu frowned, sensing something was off. Just as his attack was inches away from the boy's chest, a massive, explosive aura erupted from Chun Yinxuan's body. The force was so violent that Old Lu's face paled. He instantly shifted from offense to defense, crossing his arms to shield himself. Boom! The shockwave sent Old Lu stumbling back several steps. The crowd went wild. How is this possible? Someone screamed. He just pushed back a divine transformation realm expert. Is he even human? Another yelled. He's only in the transcendent realm. Old Lu stared at the boy, his eyes wide with shock. Epiphany, he whispered. The boy is having an epiphany. It was the dream of every cultivator. An epiphany required incredible luck and even higher comprehension. Most people spent their entire lives praying for a single moment of such clarity, and this kid had managed to trigger one in the middle of a life-or-death battle. The energy that pushed Old Lu back was a byproduct of the breakthrough, but it wouldn't last. In his current state of deep meditation, Chun Yinxian was as vulnerable as a newborn lamb. To have an epiphany is rare. Old Lu sighed, his voice tinged with envy. But to have one here, it's a death sentence. He turned to his young master, Cheng Yushu. Young master, if you observe him now, it could benefit your own cultivation. Perhaps we should. Cheng Yushu's face was twisted with jealousy and fear. He didn't want to learn. He wanted the threat gone. Old Lu, this Chun Yinxian is a monster. We can't give him a single chance. Kill him. Now. Old Lu nodded slowly. He felt a genuine sense of loss. How many years would it take for the northern region to produce another talent like this? It really is a shame, he murmured, raising his hand. To think such a genius will die by my hand today. You don't have the qualifications to kill him. The voice was calm, cutting through the air like a blade. Everyone froze. I stepped out from the shadows, Big Yellow trotting casually by my side. We stopped right in front of Chun Yinxian, blocking Old Lu's path. Who is that? Someone whispered. Another Chun? The crowd stared at the strange pair, a handsome young man and a scruffy yellow dog. It was a bizarre sight. It's him, Lu Qingfeng's voice cracked. He and Lu Mingyan were trembling, their faces turning a sickly shade of white. It's the ancestor from the Chun family. He's here. The Chun family ancestor? The crowd erupted in hushed, frantic conversations. I remember now. When the Chuns first arrived in Great Zhou, they claimed an ancestor was taken away by a supreme power. We all thought they were just bragging. They looked at me, scanning my face and my cultivation level. I looked barely older than Chun Yinxian, and my energy signature was only at the first level of the Qi refining realm. Cheng Yushu looked confused. To him, I looked like a nobody. I didn't look like a threat. I looked like a commoner who happened to be exceptionally good-looking. I didn't care what they thought. I looked back at Chun Yinxian and felt a surge of pride. I had left him alone to find the bead, but also because he needed this. To truly grow, he had to face the fire. Sorry for the wait, everyone, I said, my voice light and conversational. My descendant here needs a little more time to finish his meditation. If you aren't in a hurry, why don't we all just wait a bit? Old Lu narrowed his eyes, his body tensed. You are the Chen family ancestor? Is there a problem? I asked, smiling. I stood there, completely relaxed, as if I were taking a stroll in a garden rather than standing in front of a man who could crush a mountain. My calm demeanor unsettled him. Old Lu didn't dare move. He looked back at Cheng Yushu, waiting for a signal, but for the first time, the air of the battlefield had completely changed. Cheng Yushu looked like his brain was about to short-circuit. He was supposed to be the representative of the powerful Cheng family, a guest of honor. Why was he stuck dealing with this mess? The king of Great Zhou didn't care about my cultivation level anymore. His eyes were locked onto Big Yellow. A dog that could speak human tongue? This had to be the legendary beast people were whispering about. The king panicked. He looked at Cheng Yushu and saw the same look of dread. He realized the Cheng family couldn't be relied on. They weren't going to risk their necks for him. The situation had turned deadly. There was no going back. If the Cheng family wouldn't help, the king would have to take matters into his own hands. He couldn't just sit there and wait for death. Pass down the order, the king hissed to his subordinates. Move the 200,000 soldiers outside. Kill Chun Yinxian first. Then, take down that ancestor and the dog. I don't care how many men it takes. Overwhelm them. I don't believe he can kill 200,000 people at once. It was a desperate move. A human sea tactic. Even if I had godlike powers, could I really slaughter an entire army in a blink? He figured if he could at least kill Qin Yinxian, the royal family wouldn't have died for nothing. Old Lu, let's go, Cheng Yushu suddenly said. His words hit the king like a cold bucket of water. It was official. The Cheng family was washing their hands of this. To them, the great Zhou royalty was replaceable. If this family fell, they'd just pick a new puppet to sit on the throne. As Cheng Yushu and Old Lu walked away, the air grew heavy. The tension was suffocating. Big Yellow glanced at me. You're just going to let them leave? Why not? I replied with a shrug. They're Yunchuan's opponents. I'll leave them for him to handle later. Besides, I'm far too powerful. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to step in. Big Yellow's eyes rolled so hard I thought they might get stuck. He looked at me with pure disdain. Too powerful? I had just started practicing again. I was at the first level of the Qi refining realm. In a real fight, I couldn't even beat Old Lu. I just had the unfair advantage of being impossible to kill. Did you see that? Someone in the crowd gasped. The dog just talked. It's a hallucination. It has to be. No, I heard it too. It's a mutant. That dog is a monster. The crowd was losing it. They couldn't even comprehend a high-level spirit beast, so they settled on mutant. It was a classic case of being too ignorant to be truly afraid. The king of Great Zhou let out a primal roar. I don't care if you're an ancestor or a fraud at the Qi refining realm. I don't care why your dog talks. Today, the royal family will not let you walk out of here laughing. Even if we die, we're taking you with us. The guests were stunned. With the Cheng family gone, where did the king get this sudden burst of confidence? Then it clicked. He was planning a massacre. Run, before we get caught in the crossfire. The wedding is over. Get out of here. The guests scrambled to flee, but it was too late. Outside the palace, 200,000 soldiers were already in position. They were just waiting for the signal to turn the palace into a graveyard. Big Yellow looked at me and grinned. I think he looks down on you. Actually, I think he looks down on you, I shot back. Fair point, Big Yellow said, stretching his legs. But let's get one thing straight. I'm not lifting a paw. This is your show. I just want to watch the drama. Fine, I said, smiling. I'll handle it. But do me a favor, keep the peace. Don't let them interrupt me. I want to see how effective this second fetal bead really is. Deal. I closed my eyes and began to circulate my cultivation technique. In an instant, the spiritual energy in the surrounding area surged like a tidal wave. It rushed toward me, swirling into a vortex. What's happening? The spiritual energy, it's vanishing. Look at him. He's meditating? Now, he really is only at the first level of Qi refining. But look at that absorption speed. It's like the energy of the entire capital is being sucked dry. This is monstrous. To the onlookers, I wasn't nearly as impressive as Chun Yinxian. He was a prodigy fighting above his level. I just looked like a beginner with a very hungry stomach for energy. The king saw his opening. Now, don't give him time. Attack together. Wei Tianfeng and Wu Yuan, The two strongest masters left didn't hesitate. They were at the peak of the transcendence realm. You take the kid, I'll take the ancestor. Wei Tianfeng shouted. Done. Wu Yuan barked. They lunged at us with everything they had. Big Yellow didn't even look at them. He just lay on the ground, wondering what he should have for dinner. He thought about eating people for a second, then remembered my comment about parts and shuddered. Maybe he'd stick to spirit beasts. Boom, boom. Big Yellow stopped thinking about dinner and looked up. Wei Tianfeng and Wu Yuan were reeling, their faces pale with shock. They hadn't even gotten close. It was a perfect opening, yet they had failed. What happened? The crowd whispered. They just bounced off? I didn't see anything. Something just flung them back. Big Yellow sighed inwardly. These people were pathetic. It was a simple protective barrier, a basic array, and they acted like it was dark magic. To a dog of his caliber, these people were just ants. Witchcraft, the king screamed, his face contorted. I don't believe this. Archers, ready. Fire. A wall of soldiers stepped forward, bows drawn. On command, a cloud of arrows blotted out the sun, raining down toward me and Yunxian. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The arrows hit the air and stopped. They slid off an invisible wall, piling up on the ground like useless sticks. The barrier didn't even flicker. The arrows rained down, but it didn't matter. As they thudded against the barrier, I felt a familiar surge. My cultivation was finally moving. Damn it, keep firing, the king screamed. He didn't realize he was fueling my rise. My power level flickered, then jumped. I broke into the second level of the condensing origin realm. Then the third. It had been stagnant for so long, but now it was skyrocketing. What is happening? Someone gasped. He just hit the fourth level. My God, it's the fifth now. In the time it took to draw a few breaths, I had surged through 4 levels. And I wasn't slowing down. My body was acting like a black hole, dragging in every scrap of spiritual energy in the vicinity. Big Yellow's ears perked up. He could sense things the others couldn't. Back in Yingwei City, my absorption speed was impressive, but this was 10,000 times faster. Within seconds, I had effectively drained the spiritual energy of the entire Great Zhou Kingdom. It was a feat that shouldn't have been possible, a speed that defied the laws of nature. Stop him. Quickly, the king roared, his voice cracking with terror. What are you idiots standing around for? Kill him now. The 20,000 soldiers, the masters from the sects, and the remnants of the Liu family all lunged forward at once. They threw every technique, every weapon, and every ounce of strength they had at the barrier. It was useless. Big Yellow just yawned and rolled over, watching them like they were a pack of clowns performing for his amusement. 9th level, I whispered. I felt the barrier of the realm shatter. I pushed straight into the true Qi realm. The crowd stared, their weapons drooping. Some of them looked like they wanted to cry. Is that even how cultivation works? One soldier muttered. I don't even want to practice anymore. What's the point? But then, just as quickly as it started, the surge stopped. I hit the first level of the true Qi realm and felt that familiar, solid wall. I was stuck again. Finished? Big Yellow asked, looking disappointed. Yeah, I sighed. The Great Zhou Kingdom is too small. Not enough spiritual energy. I should have packed some snacks. Wait, you drained the whole country and you're still not satisfied? Big Yellow asked, his eyes wide. It's hard to explain, I said. My body is like a container. I reached the next level, but the container isn't full. It's like my cultivation is a switch. Once I hit the breakthrough point, the door slams shut before I can finish filling up. It's frustrating. Like having a piece of food stuck in your throat when you're still hungry. Your life is a series of ridiculous problems, the dog grunted. Maybe so. I looked out at the sea of enemies still clawing at the invisible wall. They were persistent, I'll give them that. Big Yellow, drop the barrier. I want to see what this new strength feels like. Big Yellow grinned, showing his teeth. I was hoping you'd say that. The moment the barrier vanished, a massive wave of pressure erupted from my body. The force was so violent that the nearest soldiers were blown back dozens of feet, crashing into each other in a tangle of armor and limbs. He's only at the first level of true Qi, someone yelled. How is his aura this heavy? The breakthrough is over. Now's our chance. Kill him. I looked at the charging mob and shook my head. This farce has gone on long enough. I didn't have a sword, so I used my finger. I swept it through the air in a single, horizontal motion. A blade of pure energy, miles long, tore through the courtyard. It moved with the weight of a collapsing mountain. Where the light passed, everything ceased to exist. The shouting stopped. The sound of clashing steel died. The world went silent. When the dust settled, the ground was a graveyard. A single strike had wiped out thousands. The king of Great Zhou didn't scream this time. He just collapsed to his knees, his face pale. He had lost. Completely. Numbers don't always matter, I told him quietly. The palace grounds were limited. Only a few thousand could fit inside the walls at once. But my strike had been so devastating that the tens of thousands waiting outside stayed exactly where they were. They weren't stupid. They knew that stepping through those gates meant instant death. Who are you? The king stammered, looking up at me with hollow eyes. Just tell me that before I die. I don't think I will, I said. I didn't waste any more breath. I finished the job. By the time I was done, the royal family was gone, the sect elders were dead, and the Liu family was a memory. The engagement party had turned into the funeral of a kingdom. Beside me, Chun Yinxian finally opened his eyes. He had been lost in a meditative trance during the entire slaughter. He looked around at the piles of bodies and blinked in confusion. They're all dead? Ancestor, did you do this? He looked ashamed. I'm sorry. I said I would handle it, but I forced you to step in. Falling into an epiphany mid-battle isn't a good habit, Yinxian. I told him, my voice firm. If I wasn't here, you'd be a corpse right now. Epiphanies are great, but not when someone is trying to take your head off. The ancestor is right, Yinxian said, bowing his head. I'll try to control it next time. Big Yellow snorted. Control it? You can control when you have an epiphany? Kid, you're a freak. Even Big Yellow seemed impressed. Yinxian had been mediocre for 16 years, but now that his talent was unlocked, he was outshining every genius I'd ever heard of. I'm curious, Big Yellow added. If you're this talented, what were you doing for the first 16 years of your life? Yinxian rubbed the back of his neck, looking embarrassed. I worked hard, Senior Big Yellow. I really did. I guess I just finally found the key. It made sense. In a tiny place like Yingwei City, with no resources and no real guidance, a talent like his would stay buried forever. If I hadn't returned, he would have died a nobody. So, I asked, looking at my disciple, what did you gain from your meditation? This epiphany. It stabilized my foundation, Yinxian said, his voice filled with new confidence. He hadn't jumped in rank, but he felt significantly stronger. More importantly, he had grasped a concept. In the cultivation world, grasping a concept while still in the transcendent realm was rare, but not impossible. However, Yinxian had only been truly practicing for a short time. You practiced the Supreme Overlord body art, I noted, looking him over. That technique is built on pure, unstoppable dominance. I assume your concept follows that path. Yinxian nodded, his eyes bright. Exactly as you suspected, Ancestor. My concept is built on raw dominance. I can wrap it around my body like armor or project it outward to crush my enemies. It boosts my combat power immensely. There were thousands of concepts in this world, but the one Yinxian described felt unique to him. I had never heard of one quite like it. Does it have a name? I asked. I want to call it the Tianyi concept, he replied. Tianyi, number one under heaven. Only I am supreme. It was a bold name, perhaps even a bit arrogant, but for a practitioner of the Overlord path, it was perfect. Not bad, I said, turning away. Let's go. We're done here. It's time to regroup with Chun Jingyuan and the others. Yes, Ancestor. We were just about to leave when Big Yellow suddenly barked, stopping us in our tracks. I frowned. It wasn't often that Big Yellow looked this genuinely shocked. I followed his gaze upward and felt a sudden shift in the atmosphere. The entire sky was being swallowed by a massive surge of energy. Faint, seven-colored light began to shimmer behind the clouds, pulsing with a rhythm that felt like the heartbeat of the world itself. A celestial phenomenon, I muttered, my brow furrowing. Big Yellow, is something big happening? I had never seen anything like this in my 10,000 years of slumber. Even Big Yellow looked uneasy. I don't know. The dog growled, his tail stiff. But that energy, it's terrifying. Thousands of miles away, near a place called Cloud Soaring Peak, Mu Yunyao had just arrived. It had taken her 10 days of nonstop travel to reach the area, a testament to how far the Great Zhou Kingdom was from the heart of the continent. She wasn't alone. Agents from every major sect and power were lurking in the shadows, watching the peak. The summit was glowing, radiating that same seven-colored light that now filled the sky. Cloud-soaring peak is reacting, someone whispered in the shadows. Is the legendary ranking finally opening? Who knows? This hasn't happened in ages. As the energy intensified, the sect scouts began to retreat, rushing back to their masters to report the news. Mu Yunyao watched them go and shook her head in pity. These people were fools. They thought they needed to deliver a message? When the human ranking opened, the entire world would know. There was no need for messengers. She looked up at the peak, a hint of nostalgia in her eyes. It had been tens of thousands of years since the three great rankings, heaven, earth, and human, had appeared. She wondered what kind of chaos this would bring to the Taishan realm. Suddenly, a massive beam of light shot out from the top of Cloud's soaring peak, piercing the heavens. Back at the palace, I watched as a giant scroll began to unfurl across the sky. It stretched out like a painting, growing until it seemed to cover the entire firmament. But as it opened, the scroll remained blank. What is that? I asked Big Yellow. Have you seen this before? Never, he replied. But I can tell it's not simple. No kidding, I snapped. We waited. A few moments later, small lines of text began to appear on the scroll. The writing wasn't large, yet strangely, every person in the world, whether they were a powerful cultivator or a common farmer, could see the words as clearly as if they were floating right in front of their eyes. The human ranking has opened. The human ranking? I whispered. What is its purpose? As if answering my question, the rules began to manifest on the giant scroll. Rule 1. Anyone in the Taishan realm under the age of 30, whether a cultivator or a commoner, is eligible. Rule 2. The first stage ranks participants by their cultivation level. Rule 3. The ranking will last for 3 years, updating annually. Rule 4. After 3 years, the top 500 individuals will receive a gift from the heavenly Tao. The world went silent for a heartbeat before erupting into a frenzy. A gift from the heavens? That was a reward that could turn a beggar into a god. Even the most elite geniuses of the great sects felt their blood boil with excitement. But Mu Yunyao, watching from afar, noticed something different. A first stage, she muttered. The last time the human ranking appeared, it was just a talent search. If there's a first stage, that means something much bigger is coming afterward. Then, the names started to appear. The scroll didn't start from the bottom. It started from the very top. Number 1, Niahaoyan. Age, 29. Cultivation, first layer of the spirit transformation realm. The reveal hit the world like a physical blow. Spirit transformation, someone screamed in the distance. A 29-year-old reached the spirit transformation realm. In a place like the Great Zhou, most people didn't even know what that realm was. The highest level they had ever heard of was the divine transformation realm. To them, this Niahaoyan was already a living legend. I stared at the name glowing in the sky. The world was much bigger and much more dangerous than I had realized. The game had officially begun. As soon as the number 1 spot was revealed, the world erupted. Niahaoyan. I saw him in the distance, his face glowing with pure arrogance. He looked like he believed the world belonged to him. The number 1 genius of the younger generation, he bragged, his voice dripping with pride. It belongs to me, as it should. But not everyone was cheering. Other geniuses were gritting their teeth, their eyes burning with envy. We're both at the first layer of spirit transformation, someone growled nearby. Why is he ranked higher? This is garbage. I don't accept this. The names kept scrolling. Number 2, Yi Baiming, age 29, first layer of spirit transformation. Number 3, Gu Fengyao, also 29, same cultivation level. As the top 5 appeared, a heavy silence fell over the crowd. Every single one of them was at the spirit transformation realm before the age of 30. For most people in the Taishan realm, that level was a dream they wouldn't reach in a lifetime. These kids had done it in 3 decades. The gap between a commoner and a true genius felt like an ocean. Ancestor, I'm on there too. But the rank. Chen Yinxian spoke up, his voice small. He had finally found his name, but it was buried thousands of places deep. I could see the blow to his confidence in the way his shoulders slumped. The Taishian realm is massive, I told him, keeping my voice steady. You're only 16 and you've reached the transcendent realm. That's incredible. Those people at the top just have the advantage of time. If I give you another 13 years, where do you think you'll be? Don't let this discourage you. You have 3 years to climb. Yinxian took a deep breath, his eyes clearing. My words had hit the mark. You're right, ancestor. They just had a head start. I'm going to fight for a spot on that list. I nodded, pleased. He had the right spirit. Personally, I was out of the running. I was a bit too old for a youth ranking. I looked over at Big Yellow. The dog was staring at the sky, unmoving. What are you looking at? I asked. I'm wondering if this list is going to show every single person under 30, Big Yellow muttered. That's a lot of names. How many are we at now? I looked up. The names were flying by so fast they were a blur. 397 million. I started counting, but the numbers spiraled out of control. Wait, it just hit 1 billion. 8 billion. Big Yellow barked. This is insane. They only want 500 people out of billions? That's not 1 in a million. That's 1 in 10 million. The scale of the world finally started to sink in. The names didn't stop. They kept coming until the sky was practically covered in glowing ink. It got ridiculous. I even saw the names of toddlers appearing. Does the list really think a 5-year-old is going to qualify in 3 years? I scoffed. You don't get it, Big Yellow said, acting like an expert. This is the heavenly Tao. It follows its own rules. The rule says everyone under 30 gets listed, so everyone gets listed, whether they have a chance or not. Finally, the scrolling stopped. The final count was staggering, 2.8 billion people. It included every teenager, child, and newborn in the world. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the scroll vanished. The sky returned to normal, leaving everyone in a state of shock. I knew what this meant. The world wouldn't see that list again for another year when the rankings updated. The Great Zhou Empire was already descending into madness. People were screaming about heavenly gifts. Even if they couldn't hit the top 10, the top 500 was a ticket to godhood. I didn't care much about the list. I had other things to worry about. We left the capital and headed to the rendezvous point where Chun Jingyuan was waiting with the rest of the family. Ancestor, you've arrived. Jingyuan bowed deeply. He looked anxious. The human ranking appeared yesterday. Surely a man of your wisdom knows the secrets behind it. He thought I was a 10,000-year-old encyclopedia. I looked him straight in the eye. It's a list made by the heavens. What else do you want to know? Well, what else? Nothing else, I said bluntly. I know as much as you do. This is the first time I've seen it too. I didn't see the point in lying. I shifted the conversation to something that actually mattered. The business in Great Zhou is finished. This place isn't big enough for the Qin family anymore. Your next goal is simple. Become the #1 family in the northern region. Jingyuan paled. The northern region was vast. The Qin family was doing well in a small pond like Great Zhou, but the entire region? That was a tall order. Yinxian stepped forward, a confident smile on his face. Don't worry, father. I'll make sure we get there. Jingyuan looked at his son and blinked. Yinxian had changed. He looked older, sharper. The pressure he radiated was heavy. Yinxian, you have your own mission, I interrupted. What is it, ancestor? I want you to become the strongest person in the northern region within 1 year, I said. And I don't mean the strongest youth. I mean the strongest, period. Yinxian froze. The strongest person in the north was at the peak of the supernatural realm. I was asking him to leapfrog through cultivation stages and outmatch masters who had practiced for centuries. It was a massive weight to put on a 16-year-old. I understand, Yinxian said, his gaze hardening. I won't let you down. Good, I said. Once you conquer the north, your path leads to the central heavens. That's where the Qin family truly belongs. The 4 outer regions are just barren lands. The central heavens is where the real power is. Yinxian looked at me, and I saw a flicker of sadness in his eyes. He was smart. He knew why I was giving these orders now. Ancestor, he whispered, are you leaving us? Jingyuan and the others grew tense. I had only been back for a short time, and they could already sense the shift in the air. They were terrified I was about to leave them again. I didn't try to hide it. I nodded slowly. Yes, I'm leaving. Staying this long had actually been a detour from my original plan. After I left Mu Yanyao, I had intended to travel the world with Big Yellow and live a life of leisure. I only came back to the Chun family to see how my bloodline was faring after all these centuries. Then the business with the fetal beads happened, and one thing led to another. Now that the immediate threats were handled, it was time to move on. I would enjoy my life and hunt for the missing beads at the same time. Ancestor, will you ever come back? Zhenyuan asked, his voice thick with reluctance. Perhaps one day we'll meet again in the central heavens, I said. There is always a chance for a reunion. I reached into my robes and pulled out 2 spirit-severing pills. I handed them over to him. Keep these. Do not take them unless it is absolutely necessary. Use them only if the Chun family faces total extinction. These pills were powerful. They could force a person's cultivation to the spirit-severing realm instantly, regardless of their current level. But there was a catch. Once you took it, you were stuck at that level forever. You would also be much weaker than someone who had reached that stage through hard work. It was a last resort, a desperate insurance policy. Thank you for your gift, ancestor, Zhenyuan said, bowing deeply. We share the same blood, I replied. Think of this as a parting gift. Your future path depends on you now. Never forget that the Qin family was once glorious. You are not inferior to anyone. I looked at the group and gave them a faint smile. May we meet again. Until then, take care. I turned and walked away, Big Yellow trotting at my side. The Chun family watched my back with a mix of emotions. Ever since I appeared, I had become their backbone and their ultimate support. They knew I wouldn't stay forever, but they hadn't expected me to leave so soon. Yinxian stared at my retreating figure, his fists clenched. He made a silent vow to himself. He would reach the central heavens. He would become a powerhouse, not just for fame, but because he refused to let me down. I will lead the Chun family to heights they've never seen, Yinxian whispered. I won't waste your guidance, ancestor. We will meet again. He took a deep breath, his eyes turning cold and determined. Father, it's time for me to go as well. I won't be staying at the estate this year. I'm going to spend the next 12 months conquering the northern region. Jingyuan nodded proudly. Go. Don't worry about the family. With the pills the ancestor left, we are safe. Just remember, don't embarrass the Qin family, and definitely don't embarrass the ancestor. I won't, Yinxian said. He turned and left without looking back. Once we were far enough away, Big Yellow looked up at me. I thought you'd stay until the kid grew up. You're really leaving him to fend for himself? He's the biggest genius your family has had in ages. Yinxian has his own path, I said. He needs to face the world alone to truly grow. If he dies along the way, then that was his fate. Besides, staying at the Chun house is boring. The world outside is much more interesting. Big Yellow shook his head. He thought my personality might have changed after reuniting with my family, but I was back to my old self the second we hit the road. So where to? Langia, in the central heavens, I said. Big Yellow paused. The name sounded familiar. Langia, wait. Isn't that Lin Shangliu's hometown? It is, I replied. The Lin family is based there. It's been 1,000 years since I saw that kid. I wonder if he's still there or if he moved on. He should be an ancestor-level figure himself by now. Are we going for a reunion? Big Yellow asked. Yes and no, I said. Langia is much bigger than the northern region. My main goal is the fetal beads. I want to see a new place, but I have a lead. Big Yellow looked surprised. A lead? Aside from the one the Zhou royals have, where did you get more info? Can you sense them now? I shook my head. No, but I went through the Chun family records. Every patriarch is required to record their life and the major events of their reign to guide future generations. It's a way to ensure they don't repeat the same mistakes. And the records mention the beads? Not directly, I admitted, but I did some digging. Before the Qin family moved to the northern region, they lived in Langia. The records show they were targeted by enemies and suffered massive losses. They were eventually driven out of Langia entirely. The details are strangely vague, which is suspicious. For an event that important, the record should have named the enemies. Big Yellow looked confused. So the Qin family has enemies in Langia. That still doesn't tell us where the beads are. Use your brain, dog. I didn't have a fetal bead when I was born, so why would I need to use mine? Big Yellow rolled his eyes. This is your problem, not mine. The records say people were greedy for the Chun family's treasures, I explained. What treasures could a fading family in a place like Langya possibly have? The only thing passed down through the generations was the fetal beads. These people are insane, Big Yellow muttered. The beads don't even have energy fluctuations. They don't give off any aura. Why would anyone risk a war to steal something that looks like a common rock? It makes no sense. I looked out toward the horizon. That's just how people are. Greed doesn't always need a reason. I looked at the stone in my hand, and then at Big Yellow. This thing has been a Chun family heirloom for thousands of years, I said. If you were an outsider, and you didn't know it was a fetal bead, what would you think? I'd think it was a priceless treasure, Big Yellow muttered. Otherwise, why would a family pass it down for so many generations? Exactly, I nodded. The Chin family might deny it's anything special, but people only believe what they want to believe. They'd steal it first and ask questions later. Even if they realized the stone was useless, the damage to the Chin family would already be done. I paused, a sudden realization hitting me like a punch to the gut. My brow furrowed. Wait, the Chin family has been in a downward spiral for thousands of years. Don't tell me. Was it all because of these damn beads? The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. They were targeted, hunted, and picked off one by one until the survivors were forced to flee to a backwater place like the Great Zhou Empire. If that was true, then I was the reason my descendants had suffered for millennia. I was the source of their misery. Why'd you stop talking? Big Yellow asked, seeing my expression. Your analysis was actually starting to make sense. It's nothing, I said, shaking off the guilt. We have to go to Langya. I suspect it wasn't just one family who attacked the Chins back then. It was likely a coalition. The patriarch at the time probably kept the details out of the records to prevent future generations from seeking revenge and getting themselves slaughtered. Big Yellow tilted his head. That makes sense, but there's one thing I don't get. Why steal them one by one? If you're going to rob someone, why not take the whole set? I had wondered about that too. My father might have hidden the 9 beads separately as a precaution. Or the thieves didn't know there were 9. They grabbed one and thought they'd hit the jackpot. I shook my head. It doesn't matter now. Let's move. Langya isn't close. I looked at the dog. Big Yellow, grow a bit. It's not comfortable riding you when you're this small. Are you kidding me? Big Yellow barked, his fur bristling. You're supposed to be a cultivator now? Walk yourself. You're just lazy. I'm slow, I argued. Unless you want me to take 100 years to get there. I'll give you 100 years to go to hell. Big Yellow launched into a profanity-laced tirade, cursing my ancestors and my laziness. I just watched him calmly. When he finally ran out of breath, I leaned in. Done? Feel better. You know, I wonder what my master, Muyu Niao, would think of you treating me like this. Big Yellow's face transformed instantly. The anger vanished, replaced by a terrifyingly sycophantic grin. Oh, master, why didn't you say so? Please hop on. I'll have us there in no time. Meanwhile, far away in the Heavenly Machine Pavilion, a messenger hurried to report to the pavilion master. Sir, Chun Chang'an has left the northern region. Chen Yinxian is now traveling alone. The pavilion master looked up, surprised. He left already? The heaven ranking just came out. I thought he'd stay to mentor the boy. He paced for a moment. Fine. Keep our people on Chen Yinxian. If his life is in danger, intervene. But stay away from Chen Chang'an. That dog of his is not to be trifled with. 7 days later, we arrived in the Yunchuan region of Langya. Big Yellow, you did that on purpose, didn't you? I growled, looking down at my clothes. I have no idea what you're talking about. The dog chirped, looking far too innocent. Liar, I snapped. For 7 days, this bastard had run at top speed without casting a protective barrier around me. My body was indestructible, but my clothes were not. The wind friction had shredded my robes into literal rags. I looked like a homeless man. Oh, right. I forgot you just started cultivating. You're so weak, I must have slipped up, Big Yellow smirked. I was about to reach for a new set of robes when a roar echoed from down the road. Chen Chang'an, you son of a bitch. I finally found you. I froze. I just got to Langya, and I already ran into someone who hated me? I searched my memories. Was it Lin Shangliu? No, she wouldn't be this angry. I looked toward the voice and saw a man approaching. He was a mess, face covered in dirt, hair matted, and wearing clothes that were even more tattered than mine. He looked like a professional beggar. Do I know a beggar? I whispered. I scanned my brain for the last 10,000 years, but came up empty. Big Yellow, you recognize him? He looks familiar, the dog muttered, squinting. But I can't place him. The beggar stomped toward us, his eyes burning with a mix of hatred and twisted joy when he saw my own ragged appearance. Wait, I said, squinting as he got closer. No way. Xian Wudao? Is that you? Big Yellow's eyes went wide. Holy crap, it is him. Xian Wudao wasn't from Langya. I'd met him 3,000 years ago. Back then, he was the golden boy of his generation, the top genius, reaching the peak of the void-piercing realm by age 50. He had been destined for greatness. Now he was a hobo. You're a legendary genius, I said, genuinely confused. What are you doing? Are you experiencing the hardships of the common folk to find enlightenment? Xian Wudao looked like he was about to have a stroke. You forgot. You actually forgot. He screamed, his voice cracking. I've lived like this for 3,000 years because I kept my promise to you, and you forgot. What promise? I asked. Suddenly, a memory clicked. A very specific, very stupid bet we had made 3 millennia ago. Big Yellow started snickering, covering his snout with a paw. 3,000 years. Xian Wudao laughed hysterically at the sky. Do you know how hard it was to find you? I'm free. I don't have to be a beggar anymore. I'm finally free. Nearby, a group of well-dressed cultivators walked past and stopped to stare at us. Look at that poor man, a woman whispered, pointing at Xian Wudao. He's completely lost his mind. It's tragic, her companion agreed, looking at me and the beggar. Look at how close those two beggars are. At least they have each other. And look, they even have a dog. Even in poverty, they have kind hearts. You're right, the woman sighed. The dog is so clean while they are so filthy. They must be good people. She walked over and dropped a few copper coins at my feet. Here, go get yourselves something warm to eat. I stood there in silence. Xian Wudao was silent. Even Big Yellow, my dog, didn't make a sound. The passers-by actually thought we were beggars. To be fair, Xian Wudao looked the part. He was a professional hobo at this point. But me? I didn't think I looked like a beggar. My clothes were just a little weathered. The most annoying part was Big Yellow. As soon as he heard the whispers, he turned around and walked away, tilting his head like he didn't even know us. Get lost, Xian Wudao snapped, his face turning red. Do I look like a beggar to you? What's wrong with your eyes? The crowd looked at him like he was an idiot. Their eyes said everything. How could you not be a beggar? Xian Wudao tried to act tough for a second, but then it hit him. If he wasn't a beggar, who was? He sighed, defeated. Let's go. Let's get out of here before I lose any more face. I've been hiding from people I know for 3,000 years because I was terrified of being seen like this. He hurried me along. Now that he'd finally found me, his term of service was over. He didn't have to beg anymore. Fine, I said. Let's find a place to wash up and get you some new clothes. I know a spot, Xian Wudao said, his eyes lighting up. It's a great place. I've been eyeing it for a long time, but I never had the money. This time, you're paying. Fine, fine. I'm paying, I muttered. He led me through the streets until we stopped in front of a lavish building. The sign read, The Pavilion of Ethereal Flowers. I stared at the entrance, unimpressed. This is the place you've been eyeing? A brothel? Don't give me that look, he grinned. It's a classic. I've traveled a lot over the years, and every time I managed to save up a few copper coins, I spent them at places like this. I looked at him, genuinely curious. With your cultivation level, did you really need to save up copper coins to get in? What do you think? It's all your fault, he grumbled. I couldn't help but laugh. 3,000 years ago, Xian Wudao was incredibly arrogant. He thought he was invincible. When we were about to part ways, he insisted on a duel. I made him a bet. I would stand perfectly still for the duration of 1 incense stick. If he could leave even a single scratch on me, he won. If he failed, he had to live as a beggar until the next time he saw me. He spent that entire hour hitting me with everything he had. I didn't move an inch. I didn't have a single scratch. So, I asked as we walked toward the door, if you hadn't found me today, would you have really stayed a beggar forever? Of course, he said, puffing out his chest. A real man's word is worth more than gold. I would never break a promise. A man of honor, I teased. Stop talking and let's go have some fun, he urged. I shook my head but followed him. I'd never actually been to a place like this. Might as well see what the fuss was about. Hold it right there. A servant at the door blocked our path. He looked at our ragged clothes and the dog at our heels with pure disgust. Do you know where you are? Beggars aren't allowed in the pavilion of ethereal flowers. I didn't feel like arguing. I reached into my sleeve and tossed several heavy gold ingots at his feet. Gold was useless to me. Cultivators used spirit stones, but for regular people, gold was king. The servant's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He did a full-body 180-degree turn in an instant. Oh, please forgive my blindness, masters. I didn't recognize your greatness. Please, come in, come in. As we stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The wealthy patrons inside began to sneer. Is this a joke? One man laughed, fanning himself. Since when does this place let in street rats? It lowers the status of the rest of us. The air is getting foul, a woman whispered, covering her nose. The stench is unbearable. Xian Wudao glanced at me, his expression neutral. You want to handle this, or should I? I've got it, I said with a faint smile. I walked toward the loudest critic. Who do you think you are? I clink. Before he could answer, I threw a gold ingot directly at his chest. You dare, asterisk clink. Clink, clink, asterisk. I started hurling gold ingots like they were rocks. The anger in the room vanished instantly. Faces turned from disgust to pure greed. This wasn't just payment. This was a physical assault of wealth. I'm nobody, the man shouted, diving for the gold. I'm a nobody. You're the boss. You're the most noble man here. He's right. Another yelled, scrambling on the floor. These two gentlemen have such extraordinary auras. Truly magnificent. The servant watched from the side, drooling. That's a good trick, Xian Wudao whispered. Why didn't I think of that? Even if you did you have the money? I asked. Where did you get all this? He wondered. Usually, cultivators don't carry this much trash around. I've lived a long time, I said. You collect things. Big Yellow is lazy and likes to eat well, and not every place takes spirit stones. I've saved up quite a bit. I don't even remember how much I have anymore. The servant's jaw dropped. He must have thought we were eccentric billionaires who dressed like hobos just for the thrill of the reveal. Waiters, I called out. 2 top-tier private suites. Prepare hot water. We need to wash up. Right away, my lord. We were escorted to the best rooms in the house. After a long soak and a change into fresh, high-quality robes, we met back up in the hallway. That's more like it, Xian Wudao laughed, stretching his arms. I haven't felt this clean in 3,000 years. I looked at him with a mix of horror and disgust. Wait, did you seriously not wash yourself for 3,000 years? A beggar has to look like a beggar, he said proudly. If I was clean, I wouldn't be following the spirit of the bet. But beggars still wash themselves, you idiot, I groaned. They're poor, not allergic to water. You've been going to brothels for centuries without bathing? I'm amazed they didn't call the guards. Hey, I'm a high-level cultivator, he argued. My body doesn't produce grime like Immortal's. I just missed the feeling of a hot bath, that's all. I shook my head, trying to erase the mental image. Fine, you're clean now. Is it time for your fun? Xian Wudao grinned. Oh, it's definitely time. I decided to let Xian Wudao handle everything. After all, he was the self-proclaimed expert when it came to brothels. He stepped into the role of a seasoned veteran instantly, showing a level of familiarity that was almost impressive. He didn't waste time. He ordered the attendant to bring out the finest girls in the entire Illusion Flower Pavilion. Xian Wudao glanced at me, a playful smirk on his face. I just shook my head. To me, these women were nothing more than common dust. I honestly couldn't understand how a man of his standing could enjoy a place like this. Don't look at me, I said. You're paying, so do as you please. Then I won't be polite. Xian Wudao laughed. He started pointing. You, and you. You're all staying. Then, he looked down. Hey, Big Yellow, you want in on this? I had to hand it to Xian Wudao. The man was considerate. Even at a time like this, he remembered the dog. Big Yellow actually looked a bit bashful. He glanced at me, then at Xian Wudao, and finally, he slowly raised a single paw. I sighed. That was his version of a yes. All right, I get it, Xian Wudao said, chuckling. You, go over there and take care of my brother Big Yellow. He picked out a decent-looking girl for the dog, but Big Yellow started shaking his head vigorously. I hadn't allowed him to speak in a place like this, so he was clearly struggling to communicate. He raised his paw again and waved it around. I know what he wants, I muttered. He wants 5. What? 5? Xian Wudao blinked, finally realizing that the raised paw wasn't a request for one girl, but a demand for a handful. Ha! Big Yellow, you truly are a man of culture. You 5, go serve my brother well. Don't worry about the money. The girls looked stunned. Serving a dog was a first for them, but they didn't complain. Honestly, serving a dog was probably easier than serving most men. At least the dog wouldn't get handsy. Bring up the best wine and food. Xian Wudao shouted like a nouveau riche lottery winner. Don't worry about the cost. I've got plenty. It felt like he was trying to make up for 3,000 years of misery in a single meal. Big Yellow was right there with him, squinting his eyes in delight. They were 2 peas in a corrupt little pod. Old Chun, you sure you don't want to join? Xian Wudao asked. You guys go ahead, I said. I'll just watch. I watched them with a mix of pity and amusement. I wondered if Xian Wudao had always been this depraved, or if he'd just been hiding his true nature all these years. Forgive me, guests. I am late. A cold, clear voice drifted into the room. I looked up. A woman in a simple white dress stood there. Her makeup was light, her aura elegant. She looked completely out of place in a den of vice like this. She wasn't a world-class beauty, but she was refreshing to look at. Oh, you two are lucky today, one of the other girls chirped, though her tone was sharp with envy. This is Xiener, the top star of our pavilion. Usually, people can't even get a glimpse of her. The top star? Interesting. Both Xian Wudao and I could tell immediately that Xiener wasn't an ordinary woman. She was a cultivator. Her cultivation level was low, but still, someone like her shouldn't have ended up in a place like this. Xiener froze when she saw me. She had probably heard that 2 eccentric, beggar-like rich men had arrived. Looking at my current robes and bearing, I didn't look anything like a beggar. Can you play that? I asked, noticing the zither in her arms. Our Xiener only sells her art, not her body, another girl teased. Xian Wudao frowned. He released a tiny sliver of his aura. It was just a breath, but it was enough to turn the room cold. The girls instantly shut up, trembling. They realized we weren't people they could afford to offend. Then I shall play a humble tune, Xiener said, looking relieved that we weren't the typical lecherous types. She sat down, adjusted the strings, and began to play. The music was gentle and lingering, but beneath the melody, there was a deep, hidden sorrow. She tried to mask it, but Xian Wudao and I heard it clearly. This girl had a story. When the song ended, she bowed. My skills are lacking. Please forgive me, the 2 of you. Big Yellow barked twice, sounding offended. Oh, I'm sorry, she smiled. The 3 of you. She seemed genuinely amused that someone would bring a dog to a brothel and get him his own entourage. Flowers bloom toward the sun. People should walk toward the light, I said quietly. Don't grieve for the past. Only wish for peace in what remains. A person shouldn't live in what's gone. Xiener visibly shuddered. She didn't expect me to see right through her music. Nice one, old Chun, Xian Wudao whispered. You actually know this stuff? Back when I visited these places, I used to get so annoyed by those scholarly types acting all deep. I hated that I couldn't do it too. You don't know how? I asked. Why would I learn that? Does it increase my cultivation? Does it make me faster? He scoffed. No, I said, but it might give you a bit of wisdom. I have my fists. That's all the wisdom I need. Clearly, I replied. If you had any wisdom, you would have known that even beggars take baths. Xian Wudao glared at me, unable to find a comeback. He was a simple man. Suddenly, a man's roar echoed from the hallway. Gu Xiener, where are you? I know you're in here. Come out. Xiener's face went pale. She sighed, her shoulders slumping. It seems I can't stay here either. Forgive me. Our meeting was brief, but take that song as a gift. I must leave. She turned to run, but I stayed seated, watching the drama unfold. It was like a cliché soap opera. The boy chases, the girl flees. Big Yellow, have you ever seen a script this cheesy? I asked. Big Yellow shook his head. He'd traveled the world, but this was a new level of melodrama. Miss Xiener, wait, I called out. Running isn't the answer. You can't hide forever. Why not just talk it out? Maybe the problem will solve itself. I stepped in front of her, blocking her exit. Thank you for your kindness, sir, she said, shaking her head. But some people, some things, they can't be explained. Before she could say more, the door was kicked open. A young man burst in, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on her. Sienna, it really is you, he cried, rushing toward her. I heard you were here, and I ran as fast as I could. Please, don't leave again. Stop hiding from me. Sienna retreated several steps, putting distance between them. The man looked like he'd been stabbed. His eyes were full of agony. Young Master Lin, she said coldly. Why must you keep forcing this? Do you really want me to die in front of you before you'll leave? Sienna asked. Her voice was cold. Her gaze was steady. There is no possibility for us. You should understand that. She didn't leave him any room to argue. She was cutting ties, once and for all. No, the man stammered. It won't be like that. There must be a way. I've already thought about it. I can. Enough. Sienna snapped, cutting him off. Your Lin family wiped out my entire clan. Do you really think that's something we can just move past? I don't have the power to take revenge, so I've endured it. Why do you keep pushing me? Lin Ruohong, don't go too far. I leaned back, watching the tension rise. A blood feud between families? This was getting messy. Xian Wudao chimed in from the side, clicking his tongue. Wow, you killed her whole family, and you still have the nerve to pester her? If I were you, I'd be too ashamed to even show my face. Lin Ruohong's face twisted with rage. He turned his glare toward Xian Wudao. Who do you think you are? This has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to die, get out of here right now. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low snarl. I can't believe you let Sienna serve you. I haven't even punished you for that yet. One more word, and I'll make sure you have no place to be buried. No place to be buried. Xian Wudao started laughing. It was a cold, dangerous sound. Interesting. It's been a long time since anyone talked to me like that. Kid, I think I'm going to have some fun with you today. I raised my hand, stopping Xian Wudao before he could flatten the boy. I looked at Lin Ruohong. Are you from the Lin family of Langya? At least you have some eyes, Lin Ruohong sneered. Since you know who we are, you should know you can't afford to provoke us. Can't afford it? I asked calmly. Is Lin Shangliu still alive? Lin Ruohong froze. His eyes widened. He couldn't believe what he just heard. You, how dare you? How dare you speak our ancestors' names so casually? No one in all of Langya is that bold. So he is alive, I noted. I didn't care about his yelling. As for how bold I am, you can ask Lin Shangliu yourself. Or better yet, tell him to come see me. The room went silent. In Langya, the Lin family was the absolute law. Lin Shangliu wasn't just a powerful cultivator. He was a legend, a myth, a god to those who lived here. But as I spoke his name, I was as calm as if I were talking about the weather. I wasn't faking it. Lin Ruohong frowned, his confidence wavering. Were we lying, or did we actually know his ancestor? If you really knew him, you'd know he's been in seclusion for years. You can't just see him because you want to. In seclusion? I shrugged. I didn't know. It's been 1,000 years since we last met. This is my first time in Langya. 1,000 years. Lin Ruohong looked pale. If I knew the ancestor 1,000 years ago, that meant I was ancient. Xian Wudao snorted, adding fuel to the fire. I haven't even seen the guy. I've lived too long to bother keeping track of some junior's news. That did it. Calling the legendary Lin Shangliu a junior was the final blow. Lin Ruohong realized he might have just stepped on a massive landmine. Senior, please forgive me, Lin Ruohong stammered, his arrogance vanishing instantly. I didn't recognize your greatness. Forget it, Xian Wudao said impatiently. We won't hold a grudge against a kid. The girl made it clear. It's impossible. Why keep chasing? Let her go, and let yourself go too. Lin Ruohong hesitated. He looked like a man truly in love, or perhaps just obsessed. I looked at Sienna. If she had a dark heart, she could have easily used his feelings to destroy the Lin family from the inside. But she didn't. She was either too proud or too honest for that. Lin Ruohong, I said quietly, not every love has a happy ending. In this life, meeting someone can be enough of a gift. Don't worry about the future or the past. Just let each other be at peace. My words seemed to hit home. Lin Ruohong fell into a deep silence. Even Sienna looked touched. Xian Wudao, however, just rolled his eyes at me. He looked at Big Yellow and muttered, "Look at him acting all deep. Disgusting. Big Yellow, ignore him. Let's keep drinking." Big Yellow didn't need telling twice. He was currently lying in a girl's lap, eyes closed, looking incredibly pleased with himself. I decided to ignore both of them. "Thank you for the teaching, Senior," Lin Rohang said, bowing low. "I will remember. I won't disturb you any longer. I'll take my leave." "Good," I said. "And if Lin Shangliu comes out of seclusion, tell him to find me. I have questions for him." I will pass the message to my elders," he promised. He clearly wasn't high-ranking enough to talk to the ancestor directly. Once he was gone, Siener turned to me, bowing gratefully. "Thank you for your help, Senior." "It was nothing," I said. "But I'm a man who likes a good story. Tell me yours." She looked a bit awkward. "What does Senior wish to know?" "Everything," I said. "Why did the Lin family destroy yours? Why is he so obsessed with you? And why haven't you used him for revenge?" She gave a bitter smile. "I suppose I should tell the whole story. Perhaps we should go somewhere more private?" I glanced at Xian Wudao and Big Yellow, who were lost in their own world of wine and girls. I nodded. Sienna led me to her private room. It was filled with a faint, calming fragrance. It felt like a different world compared to the noisy brothel outside. I sat down, ready to hear the truth behind the drama. The room was simple, almost plain. It didn't fit the vibe of a brothel at all. I guess that was the privilege of being the top courtesan. She got to keep her space her own. "Please, benefactor, have a seat," Sienna said, gesturing to a chair. "You don't need to call me that," I replied, sitting down and giving her a thin smile. "I just said a few words. Besides, I'm an old acquaintance of Lin Shangliu from the Lin family. Don't think that just because I spoke up for you, I'm going to help you take them down." Sienna didn't look offended. She sat across from me, her expression calm. "You misunderstand. I had no such intentions." "Good," I said. She began her story, and I listened. It was a familiar tale. Her family, the Goof family, wasn't a major power in Langya. A year ago, a younger member of her family had been careless with their words. Someone from the Lin family overheard. The branch family Lin Rohang belonged to took offense and wiped the Goof family out. Ironically, Lin Rohang and Siener already knew each other. He had feelings for her. He had begged his father to spare her life, and his father agreed, on one condition. To ensure his son never tried to marry a girl from a ruined family, he ordered Siener to stay in Langya and live out her days in a brothel. It was a cruel way to kill Lin Rohang's obsession. But the boy was stubborn. He kept coming back, unable to let her go. "So, he's a devoted lover then," I remarked dryly. Sienna gave a hollow laugh. "Benefactor, you're joking. He's barely 20, and he's never lacked for women. His devotion is just the frustration of a man who can't have what he wants. If he were truly sincere, I might have wavered. But he's arrogant. He's used to getting every girl he looks at. I'm the only exception, so I've become a trophy he needs to win." "You never thought about using him?" I asked. I was curious. She hadn't mentioned revenge once. "With his feelings for you, you could have manipulated him to avenge your family." "I thought about it," she admitted. "But I couldn't do it. First, I can't use someone's feelings like that. Second, it wouldn't work. His father would see through me in a heartbeat. And third, as long as I'm alive, the Gu bloodline continues. If I die trying for a revenge I can't achieve, the Gu family truly ceases to exist." She was incredibly rational. She wanted justice, but she wasn't going to throw her life away on a suicide mission. Then, she stood up and looked me in the eye. "Benefactor, I won't ask you to do anything for me. But I want to ask if I can become your disciple." I stared at her, stunned for a second. Then I laughed. She was a sharp one. She was calm, intelligent, and knew how to seize an opportunity. She probably would have told me this story even if I hadn't asked. She saw Xian Wudao and me, realized we were powerful, and chose me. Probably because I seemed more reliable than a drunk old man. "This might be the only chance I get in my life," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "It's not just about revenge. I hate this life in the brothel. You said you wouldn't interfere, but if I am your disciple, I can change my own fate. Please, fulfill my wish." I hadn't really thought about taking disciples. I was teaching Chun Yin Xian, sure, but we didn't have the formal title. Sienna was 20 and only at the Qi realm. In a place like the Northern Territory, that was decent, but in the Central Territory, it was mediocre. Seeing my hesitation, She grew tense. Is it my talent? If I'm too dull to achieve anything, I understand. I I would be willing to just stay by your side and serve you as a maid. She was desperate to escape. In Langia, I was the only person she'd met who didn't fear the Lin family. Langia is a big place, I said eventually. Meeting you here is a kind of fate, I suppose. Fine. I'll take you with me when I leave Langia. I have business to finish here first, but after that, you're coming with me. Your path from there will be up to you. Thud. She dropped to her knees immediately. Thank you for saving me. From this day on, I will serve you forever. If I break this oath, may my soul fall into purgatory for eternity. Stand up, I said, nodding. Yes, master. Or should I call you young master? Or my lord? I winced. I'd lived for 10,000 years. Young master felt wrong. My lord was too much. Just call me young master Chen. No, actually, just young master is fine for now. Yes, young master. Since you're my follower now, you can't stay this week, I said. I reached into my storage and pulled out a 9-grade phoenix herb. It was a gift from Mu Yunyao. She told me it wasn't for men and suggested I give it to a future lover. I didn't care about that. To me, it was just a resource. Eat this. Sienna stared at the glowing herb. She didn't know what it was, but she could feel the power radiating from it. Young master, this is too precious, If I give it to you, take it, I interrupted. As my follower, you obey. Understood. Yes, young master. She swallowed the herb. It dissolved instantly, turning into a tidal wave of energy that surged through her limbs, washing through her meridians and reshaping her foundation. The energy was so intense it started leaking out of her, shaking the very walls of the room. Suddenly, the door burst open. Xian Wudao stood there, eyes wide, looking panicked. Holy crap, old Chun. What are you doing? He shouted. That's a massive energy surge. Why didn't you set up a barrier? You want to blow up everyone in the neighborhood. As the energy inside Gu Xiener grew stronger, Xian Wudao came charging in. He had been downstairs drinking and enjoying himself, but the sudden surge was impossible to ignore. Big Yellow and I didn't even need to speak. We had a silent understanding. The dog didn't move from his spot, but he instantly threw up a powerful barrier around Gu Xiener's room to contain the blast. I hadn't expected such a violent reaction. All I did was give her a little snack. Are you insane? Xian Wudao shouted, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. Do you have any idea what you just gave her? That was a 9-grade phoenix herb. That's a legendary treasure. It hasn't been seen in 10,000 years, and you just tossed it to a maid like it was a piece of candy? You're the biggest spendthrift I've ever met. I didn't care about his yelling. To me, these treasures were useless. I couldn't use them myself, so they were just sitting in my storage gathering dust. But to Xian Wudao, this was a tragedy. He had been watching our every move from afar, and when he realized what she'd swallowed, he almost choked on his wine. Items are meant to be used, I said calmly. As for who uses them, I own the stuff, so I decide. I'm not worried, so why are you getting worked up? It's like the emperor isn't worried, but the eunuch is panicking for him. Screw you, Xian Wudao snapped. I've never seen anyone waste resources like this. And wait, who are you calling a eunuch? It's been 3,000 years, Lin Yuan. You want to test my strength right now? He glared at me, his aura flaring. I just looked at him. You want to be a beggar again? Or better yet, let's make a new bet. Same rules as always. But this time, if I win, the stakes are that you actually become a eunuch. You game. Xian Wudao deflated instantly. His bravado vanished. That bet was too brutal, and the look of absolute confidence on my face made him lose his nerve. Even though he had spent 3,000 years cultivating and was now incredibly powerful, he couldn't be sure I hadn't grown even stronger. Fine, I'm not going to lower myself to your level, he muttered, turning his gaze back to Gu Xiener. But I am curious, what kind of effect will that herb actually have? Gu Xiener was currently wrapped in a cocoon of terrifying energy. She was clearly in immense pain, her body trembling, yet she didn't make a single sound. She just gritted her teeth and endured. This girl, Xian Wudao whispered, his voice full of newfound respect. I underestimated her. With willpower like that, she's destined for greatness. Suddenly, the energy shifted. It became sharper, more aggressive. Xian Wudao's face went pale. Something was wrong. The air felt heavy, like it was about to ignite. He turned to run, but he slammed right into the barrier Big Yellow had set up. Damn it! Big Yellow, let me out, he yelled. Big Yellow, I called out. In a flash, I vanished from the room and reappeared outside the building. Xian Wudao followed a second later, panting. Damn, you react fast. It's called intuition, I replied. Big Yellow reinforced the barrier one last time before sprinting out to join us. We stood in the street, looking back at the brothel. What about the people inside? Xian Wudao asked. Even though the barrier was holding, a massive wave of pressure had leaked out for a split second. The customers weren't stupid. Nobody stays for drinks when the building feels like it's about to explode. Within minutes, people were pouring out of the doors. The girls who had been serving Xian Wudao were the first to flee, their faces pale with terror. Soon, the building was empty, except for Gu Xianer. What was that? Someone shouted in the street. I felt like I was suffocating. Is there some hidden master in there? I'm getting out of here. This place is cursed. The crowd scattered, leaving the owner standing by the door with a face full of misery. He wanted to complain, but he wasn't a fool. Anyone causing this much trouble was someone he couldn't afford to offend. He just had to swallow his losses and pray his building stayed standing. Old Chun, Xian Wudao said, his brow furrowed. If all that energy stays trapped in the barrier, can her body handle it? I don't know, I admitted. This was new territory for me too. I don't know about her body, Big Yellow growled, his voice sounding strained. But my barrier is about to snap. My heart skipped a beat. Big Yellow was a beast king from the Forbidden Forest. His strength was monstrous. If he couldn't hold the energy back, then Gu Xianer was releasing something beyond comprehension. You've got to be kidding, dog. Xian Wudao cried. I can't even break your barriers, and you're telling me a little girl is about to shatter one? I'm not joking, Big Yellow said. This energy is too pure. I only set a casual ward, and it's not enough. Before he could finish, the barrier exploded. A pillar of golden light shot through the roof of the building, piercing the clouds. The shockwave rolled out for hundreds of miles, shaking the very foundations of the city. Then, a high-pitched cry echoed through the sky, the unmistakable sound of a phoenix. A massive, glowing shadow of a phoenix rose from the ruins of the room, soaring into the heavens. The entire city of Langia went silent. Every citizen, every guard, and every hidden cultivator looked up in shock. Phoenixes were divine beasts that had vanished ages ago. To see one now was impossible. Holy crap, Chin Chang'an, Xian Wudao whispered, staring at the sky. You hit the jackpot. That girl isn't human. He turned to me, his eyes full of envy. A 9-grade phoenix herb is great, but it doesn't do this. Gu Xianer must have a bloodline connection to the phoenix. You lucky bastard. How do you always stumble into this? I had heard him earlier when he was mocking the idea of me taking a maid, let alone a disciple. He thought she was a burden. Now, he was eating his words. It's simple, I said with a faint smile. Good things happen to good people, and I'm a very good person. Xian Wudao gave me a look of pure disgust. A good person? You? Please. He looked back at the fading phantom in the sky. Well, good person or not, you've done it now. That display just woke up every powerful soul in the empire. Things are about to get very loud. I wonder what the Lin family would think if they knew Gu Xianer really did fly up the branch and turn into a phoenix, Xian Wudao said with a smirk. I didn't share his humor. They'd better not have any ideas. If they do, even Lin Shangliu won't be able to save them. Xian Wudao looked at me curiously. I've noticed your temper has changed after 3,000 years. You used to be all about peace and harmony. I was only about peace because they couldn't fight back, I replied calmly. If I wasn't polite, they would have been beaten every single day. I can't die, but getting thrashed constantly is embarrassing. Above us, the Phoenix Phantom let out one last cry before diving back into Gu Xianer's room. The golden energy vanished. The world went quiet again. Is it over? Xian Wudao whispered. Do you think she actually awakened the legendary Phoenix immortal body? You know about that constitution? I asked. I've heard stories. The last person to have it lived 50,000 years ago. They were a legend, but history has mostly forgotten them. If she really has it, this maid of yours is guaranteed to reach the great emperor realm. A great emperor as a servant. Chen Chang'an, you lucky bastard. He looked like he wanted to punch me out of pure envy. The door creaked open. Gu Xiana stepped out. She was still wearing her white dress, but she looked different. The quiet, subdued air about her was gone, replaced by a radiant, piercing presence. Her features were sharper, more refined. She was breathtaking. Xian Wudao groaned. Chen Chang'an, what did you do to deserve this? Gu Xiana ignored him and knelt before me. Thank you, young master, for giving me a new life. She looked calm, but I could feel her heart racing. She knew exactly what had happened. She had jumped straight to the 9th level of the true Qi realm in an instant. It was your own fate, I told her. Not everyone can wake such a power. Does your family have any records of powerful ancestors? She shook her head. I don't know. As a daughter, I wasn't allowed to see the family chronicles. It doesn't matter now, I said. Is it the phoenix immortal body? Yes, she said softly. And a technique appeared in my mind called the Phoenix True Secret. It seems tailored for my body. I was surprised. A built-in cultivation technique made things much easier. Good. Then you should compete for a spot on the human ranking. Her eyes widened. Me? But the ranking only lasts 3 years. Can I really do it? You have a constitution that appears once in 50,000 years, I laughed. If you can't do it, no one can. She took a deep breath, her gaze turning firm. I understand. I won't let you down, young master. Suddenly, Xian Wudao glanced toward the distance. People are coming. That light show attracted every expert in the city. Should we leave? I looked at him, confused. Have you been a beggar for too long? You used to never run from a fight. Now you want to hide. Xian Wudao turned red. It's your fault. For 3,000 years, I spent every day hiding so no one would recognize me. Back in my day. Forget your day, I interrupted. Let's see what they want. I wasn't the type to run. I couldn't die, so why not enjoy the show? A few figures landed near the building. They saw us standing there and immediately put on airs. The leader looked down his nose at us. You three, what happened here just now? We didn't answer. One of his lackeys stepped forward, baring his teeth. Our sect master is talking to you. Are you deaf? Xian Wudao's face darkened. He didn't say a word, but a massive pressure exploded from his body. This sect master and his men slammed into the ground, their knees cracking against the stone. They looked terrified. Senior, we didn't know. Please forgive us. We are from the... Xian Wudao snorted. The pressure increased until they were pinned flat like insects. I don't care who you are. Get lost. With a wave of his hand, he sent them flying into the distance like discarded trash. Pathetic, he muttered, trying to act tough in front of me. This is Langia, I reminded him. The strongest people here are barely at the spirit transformation realm. They aren't exactly world shakers. Xian Wudao sighed. This is boring. You're just using me as a bodyguard. Can we go now? You moved too fast, I said, shaking my head. I wanted to ask them some questions. Now you've scared everyone else away. The other cultivators who had been approaching were currently pulling U-turns in midair, fleeing as fast as they could. Ask what? Xian Wudao asked. Private matters. I didn't elaborate. My goal in Langia was still the same. I needed to find that fetal bead. I didn't know exactly where the Qin family had lived in Langia all those years ago. The ancient records didn't give a specific location. I figured if I asked some of the village elders, they might have heard stories about my clan. The problem was that Langia was massive. I didn't even know how powerful the Qin family had been back then. If they had been just an average, unremarkable family, finding their tracks would be nearly impossible. So, you came to Langia just for some private business? Xian Wudao asked. Yeah, I replied. I might have to stay here for a while. What about you? Xian Wudao looked lost for a moment. He had been imprisoned for 3,000 years and wandering for another 3,000. Now that he was finally free, he didn't seem to know what to do with himself. Guess what I'm going to do next? He asked, looking at me expectantly. I stared at him like he was an idiot. Do you think I really care enough to guess? He coughed awkwardly. Just a joke. Take it easy. It's been 3,000 years. I think it's time I went back to take a look. I wonder if anyone in my sect even remembers me. I rolled my eyes at his sudden sentimentality. Stop acting like a victim. Your father is the supreme elder of the Wuji sect. You really think he'd forget his own son? Xian Wudao froze. His eyes went wide with shock. What the? How do you know who my father is? Hardly anyone in the Wuji sect even knows that secret. He looked at me as if I were a ghost. I just gave him a wicked grin and leaned in close. Go home and ask your old man, I whispered. There's something I never told you. Back in the day, your father used to chase me around, begging me to be his sworn brother. Wudao, my boy, I almost ended up being your uncle. Xian Wudao's face turned bright red. Uncle? Chen Chang'an, you grandson of a bitch. You're just trying to take advantage of me. I just laughed and walked away. If you don't believe me, go home and ask your father.